Welcome to our professional training series in divination, tarot, and astrology. The following training in astrology was developed for students that are going through the courses with the School of Our Divine Infinite Being. The order and sequence of training are created with specific elements of repetition throughout for the purpose of reinforcing memory and clarity. We wanted to make our training available to the general public here on YouTube, while also encouraging those interested in a career as a divination professional in astrology and tarot to check out our programs at www.divineinfinitebeing.com. We have post-graduation program assistance that you will not find anywhere else. This includes live video consultation technology, calendar booking, social share tools, affiliate program development, e-commerce, and the opportunity to take clients from the marketing efforts of our talented in-house staff. Again, you will find all of this at www.divineinfinitebeing.com. Sponsored by astrologypro.com, the #1 platform for astrologers and tarot readers to operate their divination services. We hope you enjoy this training. Introduction: From Proficient to Mastery. Welcome to the advanced module of our astrology training program, Advanced Nativity and Transit Readings. This stage of training is designed to transform a proficient chart reader into a master astrologer, one who can diagnose the root cause of life patterns with precision, explain timing and activation with confidence, integrate symbolic overlays for depth and resonance, deliver client-ready guidance that is clear, empowering, and transformative. In your foundational training, you learn to establish client intention before analysis. Identify core chart structures, Sun, Moon, Rising, Saturn nodes. Incorporate basic transits, word association charts, and tarot overlays. Now this advanced module moves you into full spectrum interpretation, where your readings evolve from simple storytelling to diagnostic, karmic, and transformative guidance. The goal of this training: by the end of this module, you will know exactly where to look in the chart for any high-level question, understand how each placement and pattern connects to life purpose, timing, or karmic learning, translate technical astrology into clear narratives that clients can understand, remember, and act upon, integrate multiple layers, natal, transits, progressions, decans, and symbolic overlays without losing clarity. This program prepares you for long-term client journeys, where your role is not only to read a chart, but to guide transformation across multiple sessions and life phases. Our advanced approach. The essence of advanced astrology is diagnostic clarity and multi-layered synthesis. Each client question is an opportunity to identify the root cause of a pattern, life event, or emotional challenge. Locate the astrological designations that explain where and how the lesson unfolds. Integrate symbolic overlays, decans, tarot, demonic archetypes, to illuminate the unconscious story. Provide a clear narrative and practical guidance for conscious alignment and growth. What this module covers: this module prepares you to answer 60 advanced client questions, divided into 20 nativity questions, deep readings of life purpose, patterns, and karmic contracts, 20 transit questions, timing, activation, and why now explanations, 20 common client questions, practical and frequently asked life concerns, answered with advanced synthesis. Each question is approached with a consistent framework: where to look, pinpointing the chart areas and designations that reveal the answer. How to interpret, synthesizing houses, planets, nodes, and patterns into a coherent narrative. How to translate for the client, moving from technical analysis to actionable, psychologically resonant guidance. How to enhance with overlays, using decans, tarot, and demonic archetypes for depth and memory. Your evolution as a practitioner. At this level, your work is no longer just interpretation. It is chart diagnosis and soul guidance. You will learn to turn complex charts into clear stories, trace patterns from natal promise to transit activation, Empower the client to act with awareness rather than remain in unconscious repetition. Move from isolated sessions to transformational client journeys. Key takeaway: this training is about mastery through method. You will learn where to look, what to emphasize, and how to layer information to deliver advanced nativity and transit readings with confidence. By combining technical precision, psychological insight, and symbolic resonance, you will elevate every reading into a transformative experience for the client. Word association and client translation framework. Purpose and role in advanced readings. In advanced nativity, transit, and client-focused readings, the word association and client translation method serves as a bridge between technical astrological designations and language that resonates with the client. While core astrology provides the structural map, and decan, or daemon, or tarot overlays offer deeper symbolic resonance, word associations act as a translator, transforming the symbolism of planetary positions, aspects, and houses into words, themes, and archetypes that connect with the client's lived reality. When to use. This method is applied after you have identified and interpreted the core astrological configurations and before moving into any decan, daemon, or minor arcana overlays. It ensures that the client's understanding is anchored in relatable language before introducing more esoteric or symbolic layers. Step-by-step application. Identify the core symbolism. Determine the planetary position, aspect, or house placement you are interpreting. Example: Saturn in the 7th house, square Venus. Consult the word association chart. Find the corresponding keywords, archetypal themes, and psychological descriptors from the word association charts. Focus on single potent words or short phrases that capture the essence of the astrological factor. Filter for client relevance. From the list, choose words that match the client's situation, question, and chart emphasis. If multiple associations apply, note them for layering in the reading. Translate into client language. Convert technical terms into accessible, emotionally resonant statements. Instead of Saturn square Venus, say, "This can sometimes feel like love comes with responsibility or a need for careful boundaries." Integrate psychological tone. Consider how the chosen word associations might reflect motivation, fears or resistances, unconscious drives, growth opportunities. Prepare for thematic reinforcement. These words will be repeated throughout the session when relevant, reinforcing the client's recognition of patterns. Integration with decan, daemon, and minor arcana. If the placement or aspect has a decan association in the Mather's spreadsheet, identify the corresponding Greek demon personification, exact match from spreadsheet. Name it in this format. Example: Greek daemon personification =, Nike ton, symbolizing victory through perseverance and decisive action. Briefly relate its meaning to the client's situation. If there is no matching decan or daemon or minor arcana for the placement, skip this step entirely. Final delivery in the reading. When presenting to the client, 1. State the technical placement, optional in simpler terms. 2. Share the relevant word associations. 3. If applicable, weave in the decan or daemon symbolism. 4. Relate it directly to the client's life situation and question. Example of generic flow. In your chart, Mars is in the 1st house in the 1st decan of Aries. From the word association chart, we see themes like initiative, courage, and assertiveness. This suggests you naturally take the lead and act decisively. The Greek daemon personification here is Nike, representing victory through focused action. In your current question about career direction, this could mean that success comes when you fully commit to a bold course. Question 1. What is the core purpose or life direction of my soul in this lifetime? Among all the questions a client may bring to a natal consultation, this is one of the most profound and transformative. When someone asks, "Why am I here? What is my life really meant to be about? How do I align my choices with my soul's mission?" They are seeking more than prediction or personality insight. They want to touch the reason for their incarnation, to understand the journey their soul chose, and to receive guidance on how to step into their highest potential. Why this question demands an advanced reading. Life purpose analysis cannot be answered with a single sign, planet, or quick statement. Saying you're a Leo so you're here to shine, or your North Node is in the 10th so focus on career is insufficient and misleading. The soul's mission is multi-layered, rooted in karmic inheritance, emotional memory, life arenas of growth, and the integration of multiple planetary forces. An advanced astrologer approaches this question by layering multiple chart factors to see the full life purpose narrative, anchoring purpose in houses to show where it manifests in real life, reading the flow of the journey from inner preparation to outer expression, translating technical analysis into a clear, empowering client narrative. The goal of a life purpose reading. The purpose of this advanced analysis is to reveal the soul's direction, the path toward integration and self-fulfillment, clarify the karmic focus, what the client is moving away from and growing toward, identify real-life arenas of growth where purpose naturally unfolds in their daily experience, provide practical and spiritual guidance, helping the client align choice, action, and awareness with their soul's mission. By the end of this reading, the client should feel seen, understood, and inspired. They should walk away with a sense of clarity, knowing what their soul is trying to become, where life is calling them to show up fully, how to make conscious choices that align with purpose. Essential understanding for students. This question defines the heart of advanced natal work. A powerful life purpose reading is part technical mastery, part narrative art, and part soul guidance. Your role is not just to analyze the chart, but to bridge inner wisdom with outer life, so the client can step into their authentic direction. Step 1. Identify the primary natal indicators. To answer, what is the core purpose or life direction of my soul in this lifetime? Start by identifying the 5 primary life purpose indicators in the natal chart. These placements show where the soul's energy is meant to unfold in tangible life arenas, houses. Focus on house placement first to understand where the life purpose is lived. Sun core identity and conscious life force represents the essence of the soul's journey in this lifetime. House placement, where the soul must shine and feel alive to fulfill its purpose. Sign adds the style or quality of this self-expression. Clients feel most on purpose when they actively engage in the arena of the sun's house. Example, Sun in 10th house in Capricorn. Row purpose involves building legacy, disciplined leadership, and public contribution. Ascendant and chart ruler, the lens of life experience. Ascendant, rising sign sets the tone for the life path, reflecting how the soul steps into its journey. Chart ruler's house, where life direction manifests most actively and becomes visible to the world. Combine ascendant tone plus ruler's house to see how the path unfolds outwardly. Example, Scorpio rising with Mars, ruler in the 8th house. Life path involves deep transformation, psychological growth, and experiences that demand inner strength. Moon, emotional fulfillment and soul memory, acts as the soul's inner compass, guiding emotional alignment with life purpose. House placement, where the individual feels safe, nourished, and aligned with their path, often reflects ancestral or past life memory that must be integrated for purpose fulfillment. Example, Moon in Pisces in the 4th house. Purpose is rooted in emotional depth, inner reflection, and family or ancestral healing. North Node, Rahu, Dharma and growth path, points to the direction of soul evolution and life purpose fulfillment. House placement, the arena of life where growth and higher calling occur. This house often feels unfamiliar or challenging early in life, as the soul is moving away from South Node comfort zones. Example, North Node in the 9th house. Life purpose involves expansion through teaching, spiritual journeys, and sharing wisdom with the world. Saturn, karmic contract and mastery point, represents where the soul must work, mature, and earn fulfillment through effort and discipline. House placement, the life area where responsibility and commitment lead to mastery and lasting purpose. Early life may bring restriction or lessons here, but embracing the work unlocks the true life path. Example, Saturn in the 6th house. Purpose unfolds through dedication to service, mastery of daily responsibilities, and steady contribution. Key takeaway for students. These 5 indicators are the foundation of any life purpose reading. House placement tells you where the soul's mission unfolds in real life. Use this step to anchor the life purpose narrative in tangible life arenas, giving the client clarity and actionable guidance. Step 2. Examine house emphasis for life arenas. Once the primary natal indicators, Sun, chart ruler, Moon, North Node, Saturn, are identified, the next step in a life purpose reading is to determine where the soul's mission is meant to unfold in real-world experience. Houses show the arenas of tangible activity and life engagement. By identifying which houses hold these key indicators, the astrologer can ground the life purpose reading in lived reality, showing the client exactly where their energy is called to grow, serve, and evolve. Which houses matter most for life purpose questions? While all houses have meaning, certain houses speak most directly to life direction and fulfillment. First house, selfhood and life path initiation, shows how the soul steps into the world and sets the tone for life direction. Purpose often begins with self-assertion and identity building. Fourth house, roots and inner foundation, indicates what must be stabilized internally for the soul to live its purpose. Unresolved ancestral or emotional patterns here can block life direction. Seventh house, partnership and relational growth, shows how relationships act as mirrors or catalysts for life purpose. Purpose may involve growth through others or co-created missions. 10th house, career, legacy, and public impact. The most visible life purpose house represents societal contribution and lasting impact. Shows how the soul leaves its mark, either publicly or symbolically. Houses holding the Sun, North Node, and chart ruler. These houses become focal arenas of growth and fulfillment. Even if not angular, their location defines where the soul's story actively unfolds. Key emphasis for students. Angular houses, 1st, 4th, 7th, 10th. Life purpose is often visible, action-oriented, and legacy-driven. Sextant or cadent houses, purpose may require inner development, learning, or resource building first, which supports later fulfillment. Step 3. Synthesize the life purpose narrative. Once you have identified the primary natal indicators and the life arenas emphasized by house placement, the next step is synthesis. This is where advanced astrology separates itself from fragmented interpretation. At this level, your task is not to list placements. Your task is to weave a coherent life direction narrative that explains how the soul unfolds its purpose over time. A life purpose reading must answer 3 questions simultaneously. What is the soul growing toward? Where does that growth occur in lived experience? What inner work is required to sustain that path? Understanding purpose as a process, not a destination. Life purpose is not a static role or single achievement. It is a directional process of becoming. The chart reveals the starting point, comfort patterns and karmic residue, the growth vector where the soul is stretching, the integration work required to stabilize that growth. This means your synthesis must always reflect movement, not fixation. How to synthesize the indicators together. Begin by observing patterns, not isolated meanings. Ask yourself, do the Sun, North Node, and chart ruler cluster in similar houses? Is there a strong emphasis on inner houses 1-6 or outer houses 7-12? Is purpose expressed through self-development, service, relationship, leadership, or spiritual contribution? Then weave the indicators together. Sun plus North Node. Conscious direction meets evolutionary growth. The Sun shows where the soul wants to express itself consciously. The North Node shows where growth feels unfamiliar but necessary. When these placements support one another, the client feels increasingly aligned with life direction as they mature. When they are in tension, purpose requires conscious effort and repeated choice. Example, Sun in the 5th house, North Node in the 11th. Personal creativity must evolve into collective contribution. Sun plus North Node. Conscious direction meets evolutionary growth. The Sun shows where the soul wants to express itself consciously. The North Node shows where growth feels unfamiliar but necessary. When these placements support one another, the client feels increasingly aligned with life direction as they mature. When they are in tension, purpose requires conscious effort and repeated choice. Example, Sun in the 5th house, North Node in the 11th. Personal creativity must evolve into collective contribution. Chart ruler. How purpose becomes visible. The chart ruler acts as the bridge between inner intention and outer life. Its house placement shows where life continually pushes the individual, where purpose becomes visible through circumstance. This placement often explains repeating life themes, why certain experiences keep returning until consciously integrated. Key instruction for students. Do not rush this step. This synthesis is where clients feel truly seen. The reading shifts from descriptive to transformative. A strong synthesis explains why the client's life has unfolded as it has, clarifies what must be consciously chosen moving forward, removes confusion by revealing a unifying life direction. Step 4. Identify the karmic polarity, South Node to North Node. Every life purpose reading must include an understanding of karmic polarity. The nodes do not describe personality traits. They describe habitual orientation versus evolutionary direction. South Node. The comfort pattern. The South Node shows what comes easily, what feels familiar, what the soul already knows how to do. While not bad, over-identification here leads to stagnation. Clients often overuse South Node behaviors, default to them during stress, mistake familiarity for safety. North Node. The growth path. The North Node indicates where life consistently pushes growth, where discomfort signals development, where fulfillment emerges through effort. Important for students, the North Node is not instantly gratifying. Fulfillment grows over time as capacity develops. Example, South Node in the 4th, emotional retreat, overprotection. North Node in the 10th, leadership, responsibility, visibility, teaching clients the polarity. Your role is not to tell clients to abandon the South Node. Your role is to teach integration. Use South Node skills consciously. Redirect them toward North Node objectives. This reframes struggle as purposeful effort, not failure. Step 5. Translate purpose into client-ready language. This is where advanced astrologers either succeed or fail. Clients do not need lists of placements, technical jargon, abstract symbolism. They need meaning, direction, permission to grow. How to translate without diluting meaning. Use language that connects astrology to lived experience. Instead of your North Node is in the 9th house, say, your life expands when you step beyond what's familiar through learning, teaching, or exposure to larger perspectives. Instead of Saturn delays fulfillment, say, this area of life matures through commitment. Early effort here becomes lasting authority later. What the client should walk away with. By the end of this question, the client should know what their soul is growing toward, where life is asking them to engage more fully, what patterns to release or mature, how to make choices that align with purpose. Clarity is the metric of success. Step 6. Optional enhancement. Symbolic overlays for memory and depth. Once the core life purpose narrative is established, symbolic overlays may be introduced sparingly. These are not replacements for analysis. They are reinforcement tools. Possible overlays include decan imagery to refine purpose themes, tarot archetypes to anchor memory, symbolic language to engage intuition. Instruction for students. Overlays should illuminate, not complicate. If an overlay does not add clarity, do not use it. Final instruction for question 1. This question sets the standard for all advanced readings. A successful life purpose analysis is layered, not scattered, is narrative, not mechanical, is empowering, not deterministic. When done correctly, this question alone can reshape how a client understands their entire life story. Question 2. What karmic patterns am I repeating and how do I break them? This is one of the most emotionally loaded questions a client brings to an astrologer. Even if they don't use the word karma, most clients arrive at this question after experiencing the same situation, relationship, or internal struggle multiple times, and realizing that external change alone is not resolving it. When a client asks, "Why does this keep happening to me?" they are not looking for blame or destiny. They are looking for understanding, specifically where the loop is forming and how to step out of it consciously. Why this question requires an advanced reading. Karmic repetition cannot be identified through a single placement or isolated factor in the chart. Repeating life patterns are sustained by a network of unconscious habits, emotional memory, and delayed maturity that operate together over time. An advanced astrologer approaches this question by tracing where the pattern originates, why it continues despite awareness, what developmental shift actually dissolves it. Without this layered approach, the reading risks sounding either fatalistic or purely psychological, neither of which serves the client. The goal of a karmic pattern reading. The goal of this analysis is not to expose past life mistakes or label the client's behavior. The purpose is to help the client recognize what once protected them but now limits growth, and to show them where conscious choice replaces unconscious repetition. By the end of this reading, the client should feel relief rather than shame, clarity instead of confusion, a sense that change is possible and practical. Step 1. Locate the primary karmic indicators. Karmic repetition always leaves clear signatures in the natal chart. Begin by identifying the core indicators that sustain habitual behavior over time. South Node. The repetition point. The South Node shows what the soul already knows how to do. It represents familiar behaviors, reflexive responses, and strategies that feel safe because they have been used before. House placement answers the question, in which area of life does the client repeatedly fall back into old patterns, especially under stress? Example, South Node in the 7th house often indicates repetition through relationships, overgiving, dependency, or projecting responsibility onto others. Moon, emotional memory and reaction. The moon reveals why the pattern continues emotionally, even when the client understands it intellectually. It reflects early conditioning, ancestral imprinting, and instinctive responses that override conscious intention. When the moon reinforces South Node behavior, the client may recognize the pattern but still feel unable to respond differently in the moment. Saturn, the pressure to mature. Saturn does not create karmic loops, but it forces the soul to confront them. Where Saturn is placed, life applies pressure until maturity replaces avoidance. House placement shows where consequences accumulate, where responsibility must be claimed for the pattern to end. Saturn becomes the stabilizing point once growth is accepted. Step 2. Examine house polarity. Karmic patterns never operate in isolation. They exist across house axes. This polarity reveals the tension between comfort and growth. Ask, which house holds the South Node? Which house holds the North Node? Where does the moon reinforce familiarity? Where does Saturn demand accountability? Example, South Node in the 4th house with North Node in the 10th often shows emotional retreat, competing with the call to responsibility, leadership, or visibility. This axis reveals not just what repeats, but why letting go feels threatening. Step 3. Identify the repeating story. At this stage, the reading shifts from technical analysis to narrative clarity. Every karmic loop has a story attached to it. Ask, what role does the client keep inhabiting? What outcome consistently repeats? What emotional payoff keeps the pattern intact? Many patterns persist because they provide a familiar identity, emotional validation, avoidance of growth elsewhere. Your task is to name the pattern clearly, without judgment, so the client can finally see it as a process rather than a flaw. Step 4. Define the exit point. Breaking a karmic loop does not require dramatic transformation. It requires consistent redirection. This is where the North Node and Saturn work together. The North Node shows the unfamiliar direction that leads to growth. Saturn shows the discipline required to sustain that direction. The exit point is rarely exciting at first, but it is stabilizing over time. Client-facing translation might sound like, this pattern ends when you stop reacting emotionally and start choosing responsibility in this area of life. Step 5. Translate for the client. When explaining karmic repetition, language matters deeply. Clients already carry self-judgment around their patterns. Avoid framing that sounds fixed or punitive. Instead of, this is your karma, use, this pattern repeats because it's familiar, but life is now asking you to grow beyond it. This reframes repetition as unfinished learning, not failure. Optional overlay, used sparingly. Symbolic overlays may be introduced only after the pattern is clearly understood. These may include tarot archetypes to name the loop, decan imagery to refine emotional tone. Overlays should reinforce clarity, not add complexity, especially when the client is emotionally vulnerable. Key teaching note for students. Karmic patterns repeat because they once protected the soul. They dissolve not through force, but through awareness, responsibility, and sustained choice. Your role is not to dismantle the client's past, but to guide them toward conscious evolution. Question 3. Why do I feel stuck or delayed in life? Clients ask this when they feel effort isn't translating into movement. Usually the stuck feeling isn't across life. It's concentrated in one or two areas. Your job is to locate where the delay is happening, understand why, and show the client how to work with timing without falling into despair or impulsive decisions. Why this question matters. When clients feel delayed, they often interpret it as failure or bad luck. A strong reading reframes delay as developmental timing and gives the client a clear plan, what to mature, what to realign, and what not to force. Step 1. Identify the primary natal indicators. Start with the indicators most connected to timing, readiness, and pace. Primary indicators. Saturn, house plus aspects, where life demands maturity before reward. Chart ruler house plus condition, where life energy is actually trying to move. Fixed sign emphasis, where resistance, attachment, or fear of change slows momentum. Step 2. Examine house emphasis for the stuck area. Next, ground the delay in real life by pinpointing the house arena. Which house contains Saturn, the chart ruler, or major fixed placements? Are angular houses involved? 1, 4, 7, 10, making the delay feel louder and more identity linked. Is the delay happening in one area, career, relationships, home, rather than everything? This step prevents vague readings and gives the client specificity. Step 3. Synthesize what the delay is teaching. Now connect the indicators into a single storyline. If Saturn is dominant, delay is usually earned progression, skill, discipline, authority building. If the chart ruler points elsewhere, delay may be misdirected effort, pushing the wrong arena first. If fixed energy dominates, delay may be release-based. Movement starts when something is let go. Your synthesis should answer, is this a building phase, a redirection phase, or a release phase? Step 4. Clarify the pattern that keeps repeating. Delays often repeat in a recognizable loop, such as starting strong then losing momentum, waiting for certainty before acting, overworking without strategic focus, staying loyal to an outdated identity or plan. Tie the loop back to chart symbolism, Saturn or fixed signs or house emphasis, so the client sees it as a pattern they can change, not a fate they must suffer. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Keep it simple and stabilizing. Avoid fatalism. Instead of, you're blocked, use this area is developing slower because it's being built to last. Client-ready framing. What to stop forcing. What to practice consistently. What sign shows progress is returning. Step 6. Optional enhancement. Use overlays only if they increase clarity and don't distract. A quick tarot archetype can help the client remember the lesson. One sentence, not a teaching segment. A decan note can refine tone, but only after the main diagnosis is clear. Overlays should seal the meaning, not expand the reading. Client translation. This feels slow because life is training you for stability here. When you focus on the right arena and build consistently, progress returns and it stays. Question 4. What am I meant to develop in this lifetime that does not come naturally to me? Clients ask this question when they sense that growth requires effort rather than talent. Unlike questions about gifts or strengths, this one points directly to development through discomfort, areas where life repeatedly asks more than feels natural. This question helps students learn how to identify evolutionary growth, not innate ability. Why this question matters? Without guidance, clients often avoid precisely the areas that would bring the greatest growth. A clear reading reframes discomfort as purposeful training, rather than inadequacy or lack of ability. Step 1. Identify the growth indicators. Begin with the placements that point to unfamiliar but necessary development. Primary indicators. North node, house and sign. The core growth direction. North node aspects. How growth is triggered or resisted. Empty or avoided houses. Areas of life the client underengages. Step 2. Ground growth in real-life arenas. Next, translate the growth path into lived experience. The North Node house shows where effort is required. The opposing South Node house shows what feels easy but limiting. Angular placement intensifies the growth demand. This step helps the client see growth as practical engagement, not abstract theory. Step 3. Synthesize the growth challenge. Growth feels difficult because it requires leaving familiar identity patterns. At this stage, clarify what habits the client defaults to. South Node. What new behaviors must be practiced. North Node. Why early effort feels awkward or unrewarded. This synthesis prevents clients from mistaking discomfort for misalignment. Step 4. Identify the repeating avoidance pattern. Growth areas are often avoided in subtle ways, such as intellectualizing instead of acting, staying overcompetent in familiar roles, waiting for confidence before participation. Connect these patterns directly to nodal symbolism, so the client sees the avoidance clearly and neutrally. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Keep the message grounded and encouraging. Instead of, this isn't your strength, use this is where your life expands through practice. Client guidance focuses on consistent engagement over mastery, patience with early awkwardness, valuing effort over immediate results. Step 6. Optional enhancement. If helpful, use a single symbolic overlay to anchor memory, never to explain the growth itself. A brief tarot or decan reference can help the client remember the direction, but the growth path should already be clear without it. Client translation. This part of life feels harder because it's training you to become something new. Fulfillment grows as you stay engaged, not when it feels easy. Question 5. What is my true calling beyond survival, obligation, and expectation? Clients ask this question when they have fulfilled basic responsibilities, career, family, stability, but still feel a lack of meaning. There is often a sense that life is being lived correctly, yet not authentically. This question moves the reading from functionality into purposeful contribution. For students, this question teaches how to distinguish between conditioned roles and soul-directed calling. Why this question matters. Many clients confuse survival success with fulfillment. Without clear guidance, they may either abandon stability prematurely or resign themselves to a life that feels empty. An advanced reading helps the client understand that calling is not an escape from responsibility but an evolution of it. Step 1. Identify the indicators of calling. Begin by locating the placements that speak to meaning, direction, and contribution rather than duty. Primary indicators: Sun, House, and Sign, where authentic vitality emerges. Midheaven, 10th house and its ruler, public expression and long-term direction. 9th house emphasis, meaning, wisdom, and worldview. These placements show where life feels purposeful rather than merely functional. Step 2. Separate conditioning from calling. Next, identify where obligation has overridden authenticity. Strong Saturn emphasis may show roles taken on too early or too rigidly. Heavy 2nd or 6th house focus may reflect survival-driven choices. Family or cultural expectations often appear through the moon or 4th house. This step helps the client see that fulfillment may require redefining success, not abandoning responsibility. Step 3. Synthesize the calling narrative. At this stage, weave the indicators into a single storyline. Ask, where does the client feel most alive, not just competent? Which life arenas invite contribution rather than compliance? How does the Sun's house differ from where the client currently invests most effort? This synthesis clarifies that calling is about alignment of energy, not prestige or approval. Step 4. Identify the inner conflict blocking fulfillment. Often clients delay answering their calling due to fear of instability, fear of disappointing others, attachment to identity built around obligation. Link these conflicts back to chart symbolism so the client understands the resistance as understandable, not weak. Step 5. Translate calling into practical engagement. Calling does not require immediate life overhaul. Client-ready guidance should emphasize gradual integration of meaningful activity, honoring responsibility while expanding expression, testing alignment through action, not fantasy. This grounds purpose in real life rather than idealization. Step 6. Optional enhancement. If appropriate, use a single symbolic overlay, such as a tarot archetype related to vocation or meaning, to help the client remember the essence of their calling. Overlays should summarize, not elaborate. Client translation. Your calling isn't about abandoning your life, it's about bringing more of yourself into it. Fulfillment grows as your actions reflect who you actually are. Question 6. How do I naturally orient myself toward others and relationships? This question is not about why relationships are hard or repetitive. It is about how the native meets others by default, the posture, expectations, and relational stance they bring into one-to-one connections. Clients may not ask it directly, but it shows up as, why do relationships feel a certain way no matter who I'm with? Why do others react to me like this? Why do I always take on the same role with people? For students, this question trains relational orientation, not emotional struggle. Why this question matters. Most relationship issues arise before conflict begins, at the level of projection, expectation, and role assumption. If an astrologer only looks at difficulty or karma, they miss how the relationship field is being shaped from the start. This question teaches students to diagnose how relationships are entered, not just how they unfold. Step 1. Identify the relational orientation indicators. Begin with placements that describe how the native encounters the other. Primary indicators. 7th house cusp sign, the qualities projected onto others. Ruler of the 7th house, how relationships are approached and navigated. Planets in the 7th house, if any. Relational roles repeatedly activated. These factors describe the default relational lens, not emotional outcomes. Step 2. Ground orientation in lived experience. Next, translate orientation into observable behavior. The 7th house sign shows what the native expects or seeks in others. The 7th ruler's house shows where relationships draw energy or attention. Angular placement makes relational orientation highly visible. This step helps the client recognize that relationships feel consistent because their orientation is consistent. Step 3. Synthesize the relational role. At this stage, identify the role the native unconsciously occupies in relationships. Ask, do they lead, support, adapt, analyze, or contain? Are they meeting others as equals, mirrors, or extensions of themselves? What qualities do they expect others to carry for them? This synthesis reframes relationship experience as interactional design, not success or failure. Step 4. Identify the projection pattern. Every relational orientation includes projection. Common patterns include expecting others to provide stability, direction, or meaning, unconsciously assigning roles, caretaker, authority, challenger, reacting when others do not fulfill the projected function. Tie these projections directly to the 7th house sign and ruler so the client sees them clearly and neutrally. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Client guidance focuses on awareness before change. Emphasize recognizing one's relational stance before choosing partners, meeting others as they are, not as projected, adjusting orientation rather than blaming outcomes. This restores agency without emotional processing. Step 6. Optional enhancement. If useful, a single symbolic overlay such as a tarot archetype of partnership or mirroring may be used to help the client remember their relational stance. Overlays should summarize orientation, not explore feelings. Client translation. Relationships feel consistent because you enter them in a consistent way. When you become aware of the role you naturally play, your relational experiences begin to change. Question 7. Where do I naturally develop authority, competence, and long-term credibility? This question is not about responsibility as pressure, nor about life feeling heavy. It is about where the native becomes reliable, trusted, and structurally important over time, often without realizing it. Clients may phrase this as, "Why do people rely on me for this? Why am I expected to hold things together here? Why does my role seem more serious than others?" For students, this question trains how to read authority as function, not obligation. Why this question matters. Authority in the natal chart does not always feel empowering early in life. It often emerges gradually through consistency and demonstrated competence. If an astrologer only frames this as burden or karma, the client may resist the very role that would eventually bring confidence and respect. This question teaches students to identify where the native becomes structurally dependable, regardless of whether they consciously seek leadership. Step 1. Identify the indicators of authority formation. Begin with placements that describe where structure, accountability, and reliability naturally develop. Primary indicators. Saturn's house, the life area requiring sustained competence. 10th house and its ruler, public role, contribution, and credibility. Angular Saturn placements, authority that becomes visible over time. These placements show where authority is built, not how difficult it feels. Step 2. Ground authority in real-life roles. Next, translate these placements into lived function. Saturn's house placement shows where others expect consistency. The 10th house ruler shows how authority is expressed. Angular emphasis increases responsibility and recognition. This helps the client see that authority often emerges because others rely on them, not because they seek control. Step 3. Synthesize the authority pattern. At this stage, identify the form authority takes. Ask, is authority expressed through management, expertise, containment, or endurance? Does credibility grow through experience rather than charisma? Is the role formal, title-based, or informal structural support? This synthesis reframes authority as earned presence, not dominance. Step 4. Identify misinterpretation of authority. Clients often misread authority as being stuck with responsibility, being taken advantage of, being limited or constrained. Tie these perceptions back to Saturn and 10th house symbolism so the client understands that authority develops quietly before it feels empowering. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Client guidance should focus on owning competence consciously. Emphasize recognizing where trust is already being given, strengthening skill rather than resisting responsibility, understanding that authority stabilizes identity over time. This helps the client step into their role without resentment. Step 6. Optional enhancement. If useful, a single symbolic overlay, such as a tarot archetype of stewardship or governance, can be used to reinforce the theme of earned authority. Overlays should affirm role clarity, not dramatize effort. Client translation. This is the area of life where your reliability becomes your strength. Authority grows here because others trust your consistency. Question 8. What two inner drives or orientations am I meant to hold and integrate in this lifetime? This question is not about being confused or unable to decide. It is about recognizing that some charts are designed around dual orientations, two legitimate impulses that pull the native in different directions, each serving a necessary function. Clients may experience this as feeling pulled between inner and outer life, alternating between two modes of operation, sensing that neither side alone feels complete. For students, this question trains how to read natal polarity as design, not dysfunction. Why this question matters. Many clients believe they must resolve inner tension by choosing one side and suppressing the other. An advanced reading shows that some life paths require integration, not elimination. Without this insight, clients may abandon one essential part of themselves prematurely. This question teaches students to recognize structural polarity in the natal chart. Step 1. Identify the indicators of dual orientation. Begin with placements that naturally create two operating modes. Primary indicators. Major natal oppositions, especially involving Sun or Moon. Nodal axis, South Node versus North Node. Strong angular axis, 1st to 7th, 4th to 10th. These placements show where the chart is built around complementary tension. Step 2. Ground the polarity in lived experience. Next, translate polarity into real-life behavior. One side of the axis often feels instinctive or familiar. The opposing side feels developmental or demanding. Life situations alternate activation of each side. This step helps the client see that tension is situational, not pathological. Step 3. Synthesize the function of the split. At this stage, clarify what each side contributes. Ask, what capacity does each side develop? What happens when one side is overused? How does life push the native to engage both over time? This synthesis reframes polarity as a training mechanism for wholeness. Step 4. Identify the suppression pattern. Clients often manage polarity by over-identifying with one side, rejecting the other as inconvenient, feeling guilty or inconsistent when switching modes. Tie these behaviors back to chart symbolism so the client understands the cost of imbalance. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Client guidance emphasizes sequencing and integration, not forced resolution. Focus on allowing each side expression in appropriate contexts, recognizing when the neglected side needs attention, understanding that balance develops dynamically. This restores confidence without pushing premature clarity. Step 6. Optional enhancement. If helpful, a single symbolic overlay, such as a tarot archetype representing balance or duality, may be used to anchor the lesson. Overlays should summarize the insight, not explain it. Client translation. You're not meant to choose one side and abandon the other. Your growth comes from learning how and when to live from each. Question 9. How do I naturally process, regulate, and respond to my emotions? This question is not about wounds, trauma, or emotional problems. It is about emotional mechanics, how the native experiences feelings internally and how those feelings move into response, behavior, and decision-making. Clients may sense this as, why do I react this way emotionally? Why do I need more or less emotional space than others? Why do my feelings linger or pass quickly? For students, this question trains emotional function, not emotional difficulty. Why this question matters. Emotions themselves are not obstacles, they are information. Problems arise only when emotional processing is misunderstood or mismatched to life demands. An advanced reading shows the client how their emotional system works so they can work with it instead of against it. This question teaches students to identify capacity and regulation, not pathology. Step 1. Identify the emotional processing indicators. Begin with placements that describe how emotions move and settle. Primary indicators. Moon, house, sign, aspects. Emotional rhythm and needs. Moon-Mercury connections, emotional mental integration. Elemental emphasis, water versus air, feeling versus processing. These placements show how emotions are experienced, not what caused them. Step 2. Ground emotional processing in daily life. Next, observe how emotional energy behaves in practice. Moon's house placement shows where emotions are most active. Strong water emphasis increases depth and duration. Air emphasis allows faster processing through thought. This step helps the client understand their emotional tempo and limits. Step 3. Synthesize the emotional operating style. At this stage, define the native's emotional operating mode. Ask, do emotions need time and space to settle? Are feelings clarified through conversation or reflection? Does emotional intensity rise quickly or gradually? This synthesis reframes emotional differences as design features, not flaws. Step 4. Identify misuse or mismatch patterns. Difficulties arise when the emotional system is used incorrectly. Common patterns include suppressing feelings that require expression, over-processing emotions that need rest, reacting immediately when pause is needed. Tie these tendencies back to lunar symbolism so the client can self-correct. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Client guidance focuses on matching response to emotional design. Emphasize honoring emotional pacing, choosing appropriate outlets for feeling, responding once regulation is achieved. This empowers emotional responsibility without judgment. Step 6. Optional enhancement. If helpful, a single symbolic overlay, such as a tarot archetype related to emotional balance, can reinforce the insight. Overlays should confirm understanding, not deepen analysis. Client transformation. Your emotions aren't meant to be controlled or avoided. They're meant to be processed in the way that works best for you. Question 10. Where does my energy naturally renew, strengthen, and sustain itself? This question is not about meaning, calling, or emotional satisfaction. It is about vitality, where the native gains energy through engagement rather than expanding it through effort alone. Clients often experience this as, why do I feel energized doing this even when it's hard? Why does some effort drain me while other effort restores me? Why do I feel more alive in certain areas of life? For students, this question teaches how to read energy economics, not motivation. Why this question matters. Many clients push themselves in areas that drain them, assuming effort equals growth. An advanced reading shows that sustainable progress depends on where energy regenerates, not just where effort is applied. This question helps clients avoid burnout by aligning action with vitality. Step 1. Identify the indicators of vital energy flow. Begin with placements that describe life force circulation. Primary indicators: Sun, house and sign, core vitality and conscious energy. Ascendant and chart ruler, how energy is expressed and renewed. Fifth house emphasis, creative vitality and spontaneous engagement. These placements show where energy is replenished through use. Step 2. Ground energy renewal in real-life activity. Next, translate vitality into lived experience. The Sun's house shows where engagement feels energizing. The chart ruler's house shows where effort is sustainable. Angular placements amplify energy exchange with life. This step helps the client identify where action restores rather than depletes. Step 3. Synthesize the energy pattern. At this stage, clarify how energy behaves over time. Ask, does energy increase with engagement or require recovery afterward? Is vitality expressed through creation, leadership, service, or interaction? How does energy respond to pressure versus autonomy? This synthesis reframes energy as a feedback system, not a personal failing. Step 4. Identify energy misallocation. Clients often drain themselves by investing energy in roles misaligned with the sun or ruler, mistaking obligation for engagement, overextending in areas that do not replenish vitality. Tie these patterns back to chart symbolism so the client sees why burnout occurs. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Client guidance focuses on energy stewardship. Emphasize prioritizing activities that renew vitality, balancing effort with restoration, recognizing early signs of depletion. This encourages sustainable growth rather than overexertion. Step 6. Optional enhancement. If useful, a single symbolic overlay, such as a tarot archetype associated with vitality or life force, can be used to reinforce the message. Overlays should summarize the insight, not expand it. Client translation. Your energy isn't unlimited, it's cyclical. When you act in the right areas, effort gives energy back instead of taking it away. Question 11. What inner foundations must be stable for my life to function well? This question is not about achievement, visibility, or success. It is about containment, the inner conditions that allow the native to function, engage, and remain steady when life becomes demanding. Clients may sense this as, why do things fall apart when life gets busy? Why do I need more inner security than others? Why does outer growth feel unsustainable at times? For students, this question teaches how to read inner structural requirements, not emotional struggle. Why this question matters. Many clients try to strengthen their lives externally without realizing that something internal lacks stability. An advanced reading shows that outer effort collapses when inner foundations are insufficient, not because the client is incapable. This question helps students identify what must be secure inside before anything outside can hold. Step 1. Identify the indicators of inner foundation. Begin with placements that describe internal stability and containment. Primary indicators. 4th house and its ruler, inner base, grounding, and emotional anchoring. Moon, house, and condition. Capacity to self-support emotionally. Planets below the horizon, inward focus, and internal processing needs. These placements show what the native requires to feel internally held. Step 2. Ground foundation and lived experience. Next, translate foundation into daily life. A strong 4th house emphasis indicates a need for rootedness and continuity. A sensitive moon requires reliable internal rhythms. Heavy lower hemisphere emphasis shows that inner life must be respected. This step helps the client see that instability often arises from inner neglect, not outer failure. Step 3. Synthesize the stability requirement. At this stage, clarify what stable actually means for this chart. Ask, what conditions allow the native to remain grounded? What happens internally when those conditions are missing? How does pressure affect inner balance? This synthesis reframes withdrawal or collapse as signals of unmet foundational needs. Step 4. Identify the destabilization pattern. Common destabilizing patterns include pushing through without rest or grounding, ignoring emotional or environmental needs, prioritizing outer demands over inner capacity. Tie these patterns back to 4th house and lunar symbolism so the client can recognize when foundation is being compromised. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Client guidance focuses on maintenance, not achievement. Emphasize protecting inner stability as a priority, creating reliable internal rhythms, strengthening foundations before expansion. This reframes stability as a strength, not a limitation. Step 6. Optional enhancement. If useful, a single symbolic overlay, such as a tarot archetype related to foundation or containment, can be used to anchor the concept. Overlays should confirm the insight, not deepen introspection. Client translation. Your life works best when your inner base is secure. When that foundation is respected, everything else becomes more stable. Question 12. How do I determine my own worth and value? This question is not about confidence, success, or approval. It is about valuation mechanics, how the native internally measures worth, decides what matters, and assigns value to themselves, their time, and their efforts. Clients may experience this as, why do I undervalue myself in certain areas? Why do I struggle to charge, ask, or receive? Why do I feel secure in some areas but not others? For students, this question trains how to read self-valuation, not self-esteem. Why this question matters. Many clients try to fix worth issues by increasing performance or visibility. An advanced reading shows that worth is not earned through effort alone. It is calibrated internally through values. If this calibration is distorted, no amount of achievement corrects it. This question teaches students to identify where value is defined and where it is compromised. Step 1. Identify the indicators of value formation. Begin with placements that describe what is valued and how worth is established. Primary indicators: second house and its ruler, personal value system and self-valuation. Venus, house, sign, aspects: attraction, preference, and appreciation. Venus-Saturn contacts, conditional valuation or scarcity patterns. These placements show how the native assigns worth, internally and externally. Step 2. Ground value in real-life behavior. Next, observe how valuation appears in lived choices. The second house shows where the native invests time, energy, and resources. Venus placement reveals what feels worthy of attention or investment. Saturn contacts may indicate delayed or restricted self-valuation. This step helps the client see that worth is expressed through behavior, not belief. Step 3. Synthesize the value pattern. At this stage, clarify how self-valuation operates. Ask, does the native value stability, harmony, recognition, or autonomy? Where is value felt naturally, and where is it questioned? How does the client respond when value is not mirrored externally? This synthesis reframes worth as a value system, not an emotional state. Step 4. Identify distorted valuation patterns. Common distortions include undervaluing effort that comes easily, overvaluing external validation, equating worth with sacrifice or endurance. Tie these patterns back to second house and Venus symbolism so the client can recalibrate consciously. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Client guidance focuses on realignment of value, not affirmation. Emphasize recognizing inherent value before exchange, aligning actions with true priorities, setting boundaries where value is not respected. This restores agency without motivational language. Step 6. Optional enhancement. If useful, a single symbolic overlay, such as a tarot archetype related to value or exchange, can be used to anchor the insight. Overlays should summarize valuation, not explore emotion. Client translation. Your worth is determined by what you value and protect. When that alignment is clear, external validation becomes secondary. Question 13. Where am I especially sensitive, permeable, or psychically open to life? This question is not about trauma, damage, or fixing wounds. It is about perceptual sensitivity, where the native naturally absorbs impressions, atmospheres, and subtle information more readily than others. Clients may experience this as feeling easily affected by environments or people, needing more solitude or recovery time, sensing undercurrents others overlook. For students, this question trains how to read sensitivity as capacity, not weakness. Why this question matters. Sensitivity is often misunderstood or mismanaged. Without clear interpretation, clients may pathologize openness or attempt to harden themselves unnecessarily. An advanced reading shows that sensitivity is a functional orientation of awareness, which requires appropriate boundaries rather than suppression. This question teaches students to identify where permeability exists and how it must be handled. Step 1. Identify the indicators of sensitivity. Begin with placements that describe porosity and receptivity. Primary indicators: Neptune, house, sign, aspects. Openness, impressionability, diffusion. 12th house emphasis, heightened receptivity and subtle awareness. Water sign dominance, emotional and energetic sensitivity. These placements show where the native takes in more than is consciously filtered. Step 2. Ground sensitivity in real-life experience. Next, translate sensitivity into lived conditions. Neptune's house placement shows where boundaries are thin. 12th house emphasis often requires retreat or solitude. Strong water influence increases empathic absorption. This step helps the client recognize sensitivity as situational, not global. Step 3. Synthesize the sensitivity function. At this stage, clarify what sensitivity contributes. Ask, what information does the native pick up that others miss? How does sensitivity enhance creativity, intuition, or compassion? Where does overexposure become draining? This synthesis reframes sensitivity as a mode of perception, not fragility. Step 4. Identify boundary mismanagement patterns. Difficulties arise when sensitivity is unmanaged. Common patterns include emotional or energetic overload, loss of clarity in crowded environments, difficulty separating self from others. Tie these tendencies back to Neptune and 12th house symbolism so the client learns how to regulate exposure. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Client guidance focuses on containment and discernment, not hardening. Emphasize choosing environments consciously, building clear energetic and emotional boundaries, allowing recovery after intense exposure. This supports sensitivity without diminishing it. Step 6. Optional enhancement. If useful, a single symbolic overlay, such as a tarot archetype related to receptivity or intuition, can be used to anchor the insight. Overlays should normalize sensitivity, not dramatize it. Client translation. Your sensitivity is a way of perceiving the world. When it's respected and managed, it becomes a strength rather than a drain. Question 14. How do I adapt when life changes, shifts, or becomes unpredictable? This question is not about trauma, alienation, or feeling misunderstood. It is about adaptation mechanics, how the native adjusts, responds, and reorganizes when circumstances change unexpectedly. Clients may notice this as, why do changes affect me more or less than others? Why do I need time to adjust when things shift? Why do sudden changes either excite or destabilize me? For students, this question trains how to read flexibility versus rigidity in the natal chart. Why this question matters. Life inevitably changes. When astrologers do not understand a client's adaptive style, they may misinterpret resistance as fear or instability. An advanced reading shows that people adapt differently, not better or worse, based on how change is processed internally. This question teaches students to recognize adaptation as a structural trait, not a personality flaw. Step 1. Identify the indicators of adaptation style. Begin with placements that describe response to movement and change. Primary indicators: mutal sign emphasis, flexibility and responsiveness; fixed sign emphasis, stability and resistance to rapid change; Uranus placements, sudden shifts, innovation, disruption tolerance. These placements show how easily the native shifts orientation. Step 2. Ground adaptation in real-life behavior. Next, translate adaptation into lived experience. Mutal dominance supports adjustment through learning and reorientation. Fixed dominance prefers continuity and gradual change. Uranus house placement shows where change is sudden or unavoidable. This step helps the client understand where change feels manageable and where it feels disruptive. Step 3. Synthesize the adaptive strategy. At this stage, clarify how adaptation actually works for this chart. Ask, does the native adapt through motion or through stabilization? Is change metabolized quickly or slowly? What happens when change is forced too rapidly? This synthesis reframes resistance as a pacing issue, not avoidance. Step 4. Identify maladaptive responses. Difficulty arises when adaptation style is ignored. Common patterns include forcing change too quickly, resisting necessary movement, destabilizing oneself by overreacting. Tie these tendencies back to modality and Uranian symbolism so the client learns to work with their adaptive nature. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Client guidance focuses on honoring adaptation style. Emphasize pacing change appropriately, choosing environments compatible with flexibility level, preparing for inevitable transitions consciously. This helps the client move through change without self-judgment. Step 6. Optional enhancement. If useful, a single symbolic overlay, such as a tarot archetype associated with movement or transition, may be used to anchor the concept. Overlays should normalize change, not dramatize it. Client translation. You're not bad at change, you just adapt in your own way. When you honor that rhythm, transitions become easier. Question 15. What do I naturally contribute, produce, or offer to the world? This question is not about effort, challenge, or personal growth. It is about output, what the native naturally generates through presence, action, and engagement, often without conscious intention. Clients may experience this as, Why do people come to me for this? Why does this seem to come naturally to me? Why does my work tend to have this kind of effect? For students, this question trains how to read contribution as function, not achievement. Why this question matters. Many clients underestimate what they naturally give because it feels obvious or easy. Without clarity, they may chase roles that do not match their true contribution. An advanced reading shows that contribution is not something to invent, it is something to recognize and refine. This question teaches students to identify what the chart is already producing. Step 1. Identify the indicators of contribution. Begin with placements that describe expression and output. Primary indicators: 5th house and its ruler, creative output and personal expression. Sun house interaction: what is generated through identity. Planets near the midheaven, visible contribution to the collective. These placements show what emerges naturally when the native engages life. Step 2. Ground confusion in real-life expression. Next, translate contribution into lived results. The 5th house shows how expression takes form. The Sun's house shows where effort produces impact. Midheaven proximity increases visibility and influence. This step helps the client see contribution as effect, not intention. Step 3. Synthesize the contribution pattern. At this stage, clarify the nature of the output. Ask, does the native contribute insight, stability, momentum, creativity, or clarity? Is the contribution personal, social, or structural? How do others benefit from this presence? This synthesis reframes contribution as a pattern of effect, not a role to earn. Step 4. Identify contribution suppression patterns. Clients often suppress contribution by dismissing what comes easily, assuming value must come through struggle, redirecting energy into roles that don't fit. Tie these tendencies back to chart symbolism so the client understands why contribution may feel invisible to them. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Client guidance focuses on amplification, not correction. Emphasize, recognizing what already works, refining natural output rather than forcing new roles, allowing contribution to develop through use. This helps the client align action with authentic expression. Step 6. Optional enhancement. If useful, a single symbolic overlay such as a tarot archetype related to creation or offering can be used to anchor the insight. Overlays should summarize contribution, not interpret meaning. Client translation. You already give something specific to the world. When you recognize and use it consciously, your impact increases naturally. Question 16. What is the central life theme that everything else in my chart organizes around? This question is not about a single placement, strength, or challenge. It is about identifying the primary organizing principle of the natal chart, the theme around which all other placements, experiences, and life developments revolve. Clients often sense this intuitively but cannot articulate it. They may say, "Everything in my life seems to come back to this. No matter what I do, this theme keeps reappearing. It feels like my life has one main axis." For students, this question teaches how to move beyond listing placements and into hierarchical chart thinking. Why this question matters. Many inaccurate readings fail not because the astrologer misunderstands placements, but because they treat all factors as equal. In reality, every natal chart has a center of gravity. An advanced reading identifies that center and interprets everything else in relation to it. This question teaches students how to determine what is primary, what is supportive, what is secondary. Without this skill, synthesis is impossible. Step 1. Identify the chart's structural anchor. Begin by locating the placements that naturally organize the chart. Primary indicators: ascendant and chart ruler, how life is entered and directed. Sun placement, core vitality and identity focus. Angular emphasis, 1st, 4th, 7th, 10th, areas that dominate lived experience. These factors establish where life repeatedly concentrates. Step 2. Determine what the chart is actually about. Next, look for repetition across different chart components. Ask, which house themes appear through multiple rulers or planets? Which life arenas receive repeated emphasis? Where do personal planets, rulers, and angles converge? This step helps students identify the recurring subject matter of the life rather than isolated traits. Step 3. Synthesize the core theme. At this stage, articulate the central theme in simple, functional language. Ask, is this chart primarily about self-definition, contribution, relationship, mastery, or understanding? What does life consistently require the native to engage with? How do different placements reinforce the same core theme in different ways? This synthesis transforms the chart from a map into a coherent direction. Step 4. Identify supporting and secondary themes. Once the core theme is clear, contextualize the rest of the chart. Supporting placements explain how the theme is lived. Secondary placements show areas that orbit the core rather than drive it. Tensions reveal refinement, not contradiction. This step prevents overinterpretation and keeps readings focused. Step 5. Translate the theme into client language. Client-ready language should avoid jargon and emphasize recognition. Focus on naming the central theme clearly, explaining why it repeats across life, showing how different experiences serve the same purpose. This allows the client to see their life as coherent, not fragmented. Step 6. Optional enhancement. If helpful, a single symbolic overlay, such as a tarot archetype that represents the chart's central theme, may be used to anchor understanding. Overlays should summarize the theme, not interpret the chart. Client translation. Your life isn't scattered across many unrelated directions. There's one central theme your experiences keep returning to, and everything else supports how you learn to live it. Question 17. How do the different parts of my chart work together, or compete with each other? This question is not about isolated conflicts or contradictions. It is about understanding the internal dynamics of the natal chart, how different drives, needs, and functions either cooperate smoothly or pull in opposing directions. Clients often experience this as, part of me wants one thing, but another part wants something else. I feel internally divided. Why does progress in one area seem to disrupt another? For students, this question teaches systems-level chart interpretation, not trait analysis. Why this question matters? Most charts contain both harmony and tension. Without synthesis, astrologers may describe these as contradictions or problems. An advanced reading shows that internal tension often reflects division of function, not dysfunction. This question teaches students how to explain inner cooperation, internal competition, compensatory mechanisms, all without psychologizing or pathologizing the native. Step 1. Identify the chart's cooperative and competitive axes. Begin by locating how energy is distributed and organized. Primary indicators. Element balance, fire, earth, air, water. Motivational harmony or mismatch. Modality balance, cardinal, fixed, mutable. Initiation versus stability versus adaptation. Major aspect patterns, conjunctions, oppositions, squares. These factors show where the chart flows easily and where it requires negotiation. Step 2. Observe how functions interact. Next, examine how different parts of the chart relate in practice. Conjunctions indicate unified function. Oppositions indicate complementary but competing orientations. Squares indicate friction that produces action or stress. This step helps the student see interaction, not just placement meaning. Step 3. Synthesize the internal dynamic. At this stage, describe the chart's internal operating system. Ask, do certain functions dominate while others compensate? Is tension resolved through action, withdrawal, or oscillation? Does the chart self-balance or does it polarize? This synthesis reframes internal conflict as dynamic equilibrium, not inner failure. Step 4. Identify productive versus unproductive tension. Not all tension is problematic. Productive tension drives growth, creativity, or mastery. Unproductive tension drains energy or creates stagnation. Tie these distinctions back to aspect structure and elemental distribution so the client understands which tensions to work with and which to manage carefully. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Client guidance should focus on integration rather than resolution. Emphasize allowing different drives to have appropriate expression, recognizing when one function is overused, supporting balance through conscious choice. This helps the client stop fighting themselves and start coordinating their energies. Step 6. Optional enhancement. If helpful, a single symbolic overlay, such as a tarot archetype representing balance, polarity, or synthesis, may be used to anchor the understanding. Overlays should summarize the dynamic, not explain it. Client translation. You're not internally broken, you're internally complex. When your different drives are coordinated instead of competing, life flows more smoothly. Question 18. What develops early in my life, and what emerges only with time? This question is not about delays, failure, or missing potential. It is about developmental sequencing, understanding which parts of the natal chart are meant to operate early in life and which require maturity, experience, or time before they fully express. Clients often sense this as, why did some things come easily when I was young? Why do certain abilities feel dormant or late blooming? Why does life feel clearer now than it did before? For students, this question trains how to read time-built development encoded in the natal chart itself. Why this question matters. Many clients judge themselves harshly for not having it together early in life. An advanced reading shows that not all parts of a chart are designed to activate at the same time. Some capacities are immediate, others require lived experience to stabilize. This question helps students explain maturation without invoking prediction, fate, or transits. Step 1. Identify indicators of early expression. Begin by locating placements that tend to express immediately or instinctively. Primary indicators: angular planets, 1st, 4th, 7th, 10th houses, early visibility and activation. Personal planets: Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, immediate access and expression. Strong cardinal emphasis: early initiative and outward engagement. These placements show what the native naturally embodies early in life. Step 2. Identify indicators of delayed or mature expression. Next, locate placements that require time to stabilize. Primary indicators: Saturn-dominated themes, skills earned through experience. Cadent houses, 3rd, 6th, 9th, 12th. Development through learning and repetition. Outer planets tightly integrated into personal structure. These placements show capacities that mature gradually rather than immediately. Step 3. Synthesize the developmental sequence. At this stage, determine how development unfolds over time. Ask, which traits lead early and which follow later? Does early expression prepare the ground for later mastery? Are some qualities intentionally held back until maturity? This synthesis reframes delay as design, not deficiency. Step 4. Identify common misinterpretations. Clients often misread delayed development as personal failure, lack of talent, being behind others. Tie these perceptions back to chart structure so the client understands that timing is internal, not comparative. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Client guidance should focus on patience and sequencing. Emphasize honoring early strengths without over-identifying with them, allowing late emerging capacities to unfold naturally, recognizing that maturity brings access, not loss. This restores confidence without pressure. Step 6. Optional enhancement. If helpful, a single symbolic overlay, such as a tarot archetype representing maturation or time, may be used to anchor the insight. Overlays should summarize development, not predict outcomes. Client translation. Some parts of you were meant to lead early, and others were meant to grow with time. Your life unfolds in sequence, not all at once. Question 19. Where does my chart seek stability, and where is it designed to grow or stretch? This question is not about fear of change or resistance. It is about understanding the internal economy of the natal chart, where life seeks consolidation, security, and preservation, and where it requires exploration, risk, or expansion. Clients often sense this as, why do I protect certain areas of my life so strongly? Why does growth feel natural here but threatening there? Why do some parts of my life resist change while others demand it? For students, this question trains how to read conservation versus expansion as a structural design, not a personality issue. Why this question matters. Many clients believe growth must occur everywhere all the time. An advanced reading shows that some parts of the chart are meant to hold and stabilize, while others are meant to evolve and stretch. Confusing these roles leads to unnecessary disruption or stagnation. This question teaches students to distinguish where stability is essential from where growth is required. Step 1. Identify the stability indicators. Begin by locating placements that prioritize maintenance, continuity, and preservation. Primary indicators: fixed sign emphasis, endurance, loyalty, and resistance to change. Strong second or fourth house focus, security, resources, and grounding. Well-supported Saturn, consolidation, and long-term structure. These placements show where the chart naturally protects what has been built. Step 2. Identify the growth indicators. Next, locate placements that require movement, exploration, or expansion. Primary indicators: mutable sign emphasis, learning, adaptation, and flexibility. Nodal axis, familiar territory versus developmental direction. Jupiter emphasis, expansion, meaning, and exploration. These placements show where life pushes the native beyond comfort. Step 3. Synthesize the stability-growth balance. At this stage, examine how these two forces interact. Ask, where does stability support growth rather than block it? Where does growth threaten stability if pushed too hard? How does the chart regulate change without collapse? This synthesis reframes tension as balance management, not inner conflict. Step 4. Identify misapplied effort. Difficulty arises when effort is misplaced. Common patterns include forcing growth in areas meant to remain stable, clinging to stability in areas designed for expansion, destabilizing foundations in pursuit of progress. Tie these patterns back to modality balance and nodal symbolism so the client understands why frustration arises. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Client guidance should focus on strategic growth, emphasize protecting core stabilizing areas, consciously engaging growth zones, allowing stability to act as a base, not a cage. This helps clients evolve without unnecessary disruption. Step 6. Optional enhancement. If helpful, a single symbolic overlay, such as a tarot archetype representing balance or expansion, may be used to anchor the insight. Overlays should summarize the dynamic, not interpret the chart. Client translation. Some parts of your life are meant to be stable so others can grow. When you respect that balance, progress feels grounded instead of chaotic. Question 20. What is the story of my life as shown by my natal chart? This question is not about prediction, events, or outcomes. It is about narrative coherence, understanding how the many parts of the natal chart come together to describe a single unfolding life journey. Clients often feel this intuitively but struggle to articulate it. They may say, "I know my life has a pattern, but I can't explain it. How do all these parts of me actually fit together? What does my chart really say about my life as a whole?" For students, this question trains the transition from technical astrology to meaningful explanation. Why this question matters. Many astrologers can interpret placements accurately, but fail to synthesize meaning. Without narrative integration, readings feel fragmented, overwhelming, or purely descriptive. An advanced reading shows that a natal chart is not a list of traits. It is a story with a beginning, development, and direction. This question teaches students how to unify diverse placements, maintain hierarchy, communicate insight clearly to clients. Without this skill, no astrology reading feels complete. Step 1. Establish the life axis. Begin by identifying the primary movement of the life, core indicators, ascendant, descendant axis, self versus others, IC, midheaven axis, inner foundation versus outer contribution, chart ruler's journey through the houses. These axes provide the skeleton of the life story. Step 2. Identify the central, character and motivation. Next, clarify who the native is becoming. The sun describes the central identity drive. The moon shows emotional motivation and need. The ascendant shows how the story begins. This step helps students identify the protagonist of the chart, not as a personality, but as a developing consciousness. Step 3. Integrate supporting and challenging forces. At this stage, bring in the rest of the chart as supporting characters and pressures. Ask, which placements consistently assist the life direction? Which placements create friction that refines the story? How do challenges shape competence rather than derail progress? This synthesis reframes tension as plot development, not obstruction. Step 4. Trace development across the life arc. Now, describe how the life unfolds over time, without prediction. Early life emphasizes certain houses or functions. Midlife integrates maturity and responsibility. Later life expresses synthesis and contribution. This step allows students to explain why life feels different at different stages using natal logic alone. Step 5. Translate the story into client language. Client-ready narration should be simple, coherent, affirming without being flattering. Focus on naming the life theme clearly, showing how experiences connect, explaining why the life makes sense as a whole. This step turns astrology into meaning, not information. Step 6. Optional enhancement. If helpful, a single symbolic overlay, such as a tarot archetype representing the life journey, may be used to anchor the narrative. Overlays should reflect the story, not interpret it. Client translation. Your chart tells a story about how you grow, what you're shaped by, and what you're ultimately here to express. When you see it as one journey, your life becomes easier to understand. Monthly transit readings. Brief introduction. The monthly transit section shifts focus from structure to timing. While the natal chart describes stable patterns and lifelong themes, monthly transits show what is being activated right now and where attention is temporarily required. Transits do not override the natal chart, they highlight specific areas of it for a limited period. This section trains astrologers to recognize short-term emphasis, monthly focus, and practical engagement, without treating transits as predictions or permanent changes. Each question in this section builds the skill of identifying the dominant theme of the month, where effort is best applied, how to respond consciously to current conditions. With the natal foundation already established, monthly transits become a tool for planning, awareness, and alignment, not interpretation from scratch. Monthly transit question 1. Where should I focus my energy this month for the best use of time and effort? This question is not about outcomes or events. It is about direction of effort, where the current transits indicate that attention, action, or engagement will be most effective during this month. Clients often experience this as, what should I prioritize right now? Where will my effort actually matter this month? What deserves my attention and what doesn't? For students, this question teaches how to identify monthly emphasis, not permanent life themes. Why this question matters. Without guidance, clients often scatter their energy or push in areas that are not currently supported. Monthly transits show where momentum exists now, helping clients work with timing instead of against it. This question anchors the entire transit section by training astrologers to answer, what is this month actually about? Step 1. Identify the dominant transit activator. Begin by identifying which transiting body is setting the tone for the month. Primary indicators. Sun's monthly transit, the central focus and conscious attention. Lunation cycle, new moon, full moon. Monthly activation and culmination. Any exact major transit to a natal personal planet. These factors determine where awareness and effort naturally concentrate. Step 2. Locate the activated natal house. Next, identify where this emphasis is occurring in the natal chart. The house transited by the sun shows the main life area in focus. Lunations activate specific houses and themes. Exact transits highlight precise points of engagement. This step grounds the month in concrete life arenas rather than abstract meaning. Step 3. Synthesize the monthly theme. At this stage, articulate the month's central theme clearly. Ask, what area of life is asking for attention? Is the emphasis on initiation, adjustment, completion, or review? Is energy best used through action, planning, communication, or consolidation? This synthesis prevents overinterpretation and keeps the reading practical. Step 4. Identify where energy is not required. Equally important is knowing what does not need focus. Common misuses of energy include forcing progress in inactive areas, reacting to background noise, revisiting issues not currently triggered. Tie this back to the absence of strong transits so the client learns strategic restraint. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Client guidance should be clear, actionable, and time-bound. Emphasize focusing effort where activation is present, allowing other areas to remain neutral. Treating this focus as temporary, not permanent. This helps clients plan without pressure. Step 6. Optional enhancement. If helpful, a single symbolic overlay, such as a tarot archetype associated with the month's theme, may be used to anchor memory. Overlays should summarize focus, not explain the transit. Client translation. This month highlights one specific area of your life. When you focus your energy there, things move more smoothly. Other areas don't need to be forced right now. Monthly transit question 2. What challenges or friction might I encounter this month, and how should I prepare? This question is not about predicting problems or creating anxiety. It is about identifying points of resistance, pressure, or adjustment, so the client can respond consciously rather than reactively. Clients often experience this as, what should I be careful about this month? Where might things feel harder than usual? What could slow me down if I'm not aware? For students, This question trains how to read monthly stress points, not long-term difficulties. Why this question matters. Monthly challenges are temporary, but unprepared responses can create unnecessary strain. Transits reveal where effort may meet resistance, not to stop action, but to adjust strategy. This question teaches astrologers to frame challenge as information, not warning. Step 1. Identify the primary friction transits. Begin by locating transits that indicate pressure, tension, or required adjustment. Primary indicators. Transiting Mars aspects to natal planets. Friction, urgency, conflict. Hard aspects. Squares, oppositions from transiting planets to natal personal planets. Retrograde activity, activating natal placements. These transits highlight where momentum may meet resistance. Step 2. Locate the affected natal house. Next, identify where this friction is likely to show up in real life. The house of the natal planet being contacted shows the life area affected. Mars transits indicate where energy may be misdirected if rushed. Retrogrades suggest review or correction rather than forward push. This step grounds challenge in specific manageable areas. Step 3. Synthesize the nature of the challenge. At this stage, clarify what kind of challenge is present. Ask, is this friction mental, emotional, physical, or logistical? Does the challenge require patience, restraint, or redirection? Is the issue about timing rather than capability? This synthesis prevents overreaction and keeps the interpretation proportional. Step 4. Identify the best preparatory response. Not all challenges require action. Possible responses include slowing down and observing, planning before acting, redirecting effort away from conflict zones. Tie the response directly to the type of transit involved so the guidance remains practical. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Client guidance should emphasize preparedness, not avoidance. Focus on anticipating pressure points, choosing response over reaction, remembering the temporary nature of the transit. This helps clients stay steady without becoming defensive. Step 6. Optional enhancement. If helpful, a single symbolic overlay, such as a tarot archetype related to caution or discipline, may be used to reinforce the message. Overlays should anchor awareness, not dramatize difficulty. Client translation. This month may test you in specific areas. When you anticipate where pressure might arise, you can respond calmly instead of being thrown off balance. Monthly transit question 3. What area of my life is actively changing or transitioning this month? This question is not about sudden events or long-term destiny. It is about identifying where movement, adjustment, or reorientation is already underway, even if it feels subtle. Clients often experience this as, something feels like it's shifting, but I can't name it. Why doesn't this area feel the same as it did last month? What's in transition right now? For students, this question trains how to read monthly movement, not permanent transformation. Why this question matters. Monthly transits often signal change in process rather than outcome. When clients don't recognize this, they may resist necessary adjustments or misinterpret uncertainty as failure. This question helps astrologers frame change as in motion, not destabilizing. Step 1. Identify the transits indicating change. Begin by locating transits that suggest movement, release, or reorientation. Primary indicators. Lunations, especially eclipses, if present, shifts and turning points. Transiting Uranus aspects to natal planets. Disruption or liberation. Planetary ingresses into new signs or houses. These transits indicate that something is not meant to stay static this month. Step 2. Locate the natal area being shifted. Next, ground the change in a specific life arena. The house of the natal planet being activated shows where change occurs. Ingresses highlight a new tone in that house. Lunations emphasize beginnings or culminations. This step keeps the interpretation concrete rather than abstract. Step 3. Synthesize the nature of the transition. At this stage, clarify what kind of change is taking place. Ask, is something ending, beginning, or being restructured? Does this change require flexibility or conscious release? Is the shift internal, external, or both? This synthesis helps clients cooperate with movement rather than resist it. Step 4. Identify what must be let go of. Change often requires release. Common themes include outdated habits or assumptions, approaches that no longer fit, expectations based on past conditions. Tie this guidance back to the type of transit involved, so the advice stays grounded. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Client guidance should focus on allowing transition, not forcing outcomes. Emphasize, staying responsive rather than rigid, allowing uncertainty without panic, recognizing progress even without clarity. This keeps the client oriented and calm. Step 6. Optional enhancement. If helpful, a single symbolic overlay, such as a tarot archetype related to transition or change, may be used to anchor awareness. Overlays should summarize movement, not predict outcomes. Client translation. This month is about movement, not resolution. When you allow the transition instead of resisting it, the change unfolds more smoothly. Monthly transit question 4. How are my relationships and interactions being influenced this month? This question is not about permanent relationship patterns or long-term compatibility. It is about understanding how the current transits shape interactions, responses, and relational tone during this specific month. Clients often experience this as, why do conversations feel different right now? Why is this relationship more active this month? Why do interactions feel smoother or more tense than usual? For students, this question trains how to read temporary relational dynamics, not natal relationship themes. Why this question matters. Monthly transits frequently alter how people relate, even when nothing fundamental has changed. Without awareness, clients may overinterpret temporary shifts as permanent problems or commitments. This question teaches astrologers to explain relational tone and timing, not redefine relationships. Step 1. Identify the relationship activating transits. Begin by locating transits that directly affect interaction and exchange. Primary indicators: transiting Venus aspects to natal planets, attraction, harmony, values. Transiting Mercury aspects, communication, dialogue, negotiation. Lunations activating the 1st to 7th axis. Self-other emphasis. These transits show when relationships and conversations come into focus. Step 2. Locate the activated natal houses. Next, determine where relationship activity is emphasized. The 7th house highlights direct one-to-one interactions. The 3rd house shows communication and daily exchanges. The 11th house emphasizes social and group dynamics. This step grounds relational influence in specific contexts. Step 3. Synthesize the monthly interaction theme. At this stage, clarify the tone of interaction. Ask, is this month about connection, clarification, negotiation, or adjustment? Are interactions initiating, deepening, or recalibrating? Is emphasis placed on listening, expressing, or balancing perspectives? This synthesis prevents overreaction to short-term relational shifts. Step 4. Identify potential misinterpretations. Clients often misread monthly relational shifts as loss of connection, sudden attraction or rejection, permanent change in relationship direction. Tie these tendencies back to transit duration so clients understand the temporary nature of the influence. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Client guidance should emphasize responsiveness and clarity, focus on communicating intentionally, allowing space where needed, not forcing decisions based on short-term tone. This supports healthy interaction without pressure. Step 6. Optional enhancement. If helpful, a single symbolic overlay, such as a tarot archetype related to communication or relationship balance, may be used to anchor understanding. Overlays should summarize interaction themes, not interpret motives. Client translation. This month shapes how you relate and communicate. When you stay responsive instead of reactive, relationships flow more smoothly. Monthly transit question 5. What is the main emotional and psychological theme of this month? This question is not about long-term emotional patterns or personality traits. It is about understanding the emotional atmosphere of the month, how feelings, instincts, and inner responses are temporarily shaped by current transits. Clients often experience this as, why do I feel more sensitive or reflective right now? Why is my mood different this month? What emotional tone am I moving through? For students, this question trains how to read monthly emotional weather, not natal psychology. Why this question matters. Monthly transits often affect emotional tone without an obvious external cause. Without awareness, clients may assume something is wrong or permanent. An accurate reading shows that emotions often reflect timing and cycles, not personal failure or regression. This question teaches astrologers to normalize emotional shifts as temporary internal states. Step 1. Identify the emotional activators. Begin by locating transits that directly influence emotional experience. Primary indicators: transiting moon cycles, daily and weekly emotional shifts, new moon/full moon aspects to natal moon or personal planets, transiting Neptune aspects, heightened sensitivity or diffusion. These transits shape the emotional backdrop of the month. Step 2. Locate the activated natal house. Next, ground emotional tone in specific life areas. The house containing the natal moon shows baseline emotional focus. Houses activated by lunations show where feelings are stirred. Neptune activation may blur emotional boundaries in specific areas. This step keeps interpretation concrete and contained. Step 3. Synthesize the emotional theme. At this stage, clarify the dominant emotional quality of the month. Ask, is the emotional tone introspective, expressive, sensitive, or detached? Does the month invite processing, release, or stabilization? Are emotions best expressed outwardly or held quietly? This synthesis helps clients name what they're experiencing without over-identifying with it. Step 4. Identify emotional pitfalls. Monthly emotional themes can be mismanaged. Common patterns include overreacting to temporary feelings, suppressing emotions that need acknowledgement, projecting internal states onto situations or people. Tie these tendencies back to transit duration so clients remember the passing nature of the mood. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Client guidance should emphasize emotional awareness, not control. Focus on observing feelings without judgment, choosing appropriate outlets for expression, giving emotions space without letting them dominate decisions. This helps clients stay grounded throughout the month. Step 6. Optional enhancement. If helpful, a single symbolic overlay, such as a tarot archetype related to emotional awareness, may be used to anchor understanding. Overlays should summarize the emotional tone, not explain causes. Client translation. This month has a particular emotional tone. When you observe it without over-identifying, it becomes easier to move through. Monthly transit question 6. What actions or efforts are best supported this month? This question is not about pushing harder or doing more. It is about understanding where action is supported by timing, where initiative, effort, and follow-through are most likely to produce results during this month. Clients often experience this as, what should I actively work on right now? Where will my effort actually move things forward? What's worth initiating this month? For students, this question trains how to read monthly momentum, not long-term ambition. Why this question matters? Many clients either overextend themselves or hesitate unnecessarily. Monthly transits reveal when action is aligned and when restraint is wiser. This question teaches astrologers to guide clients toward timely effort rather than constant activity. Step 1. Identify the actions supporting transits. Begin by locating transits that encourage movement, initiative, and productivity. Primary indicators: transiting Mars aspects to natal planets, energy, drive, and activation. Supportive aspects: trines, sextiles, from transiting planets to natal personal planets. Sun aspects that energize natal placements. These transits show where effort flows more easily. Step 2. Locate the activated natal houses. Next, identify where action is best applied. The house of the natal planet being activated shows the life area ready for action. Mars transits highlight where physical or decisive effort is useful. Supportive aspects indicate smoother progress. This step grounds productivity in concrete life domains. Step 3. Synthesize the nature of the action. At this stage, clarify what kind of action is supported. Ask, is this month best for initiating, advancing, or completing tasks? Does action require speed, consistency, or precision? Is effort better applied independently or collaboratively? This synthesis keeps guidance practical and proportionate. Step 4. Identify where action is not favored. Equally important is knowing when not to push. Common misalignments include forcing progress during low-energy periods, initiating projects without support, mistaking urgency for alignment. Tie this guidance back to the absence of supportive transit so the client understands restraint is strategic. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Client guidance should emphasize aligned effort. Focus on choosing actions that match current momentum, pacing effort to avoid burnout, remembering that monthly support is temporary. This helps clients act confidently without overcommitting. Step 6. Optional enhancement. If helpful, a single symbolic overlay, such as a tarot archetype related to action or initiative, may be used to anchor understanding. Overlays should summarize timing, not explain outcomes. Client translation. This month supports action in specific areas. When you apply effort there, things move forward more easily than if you push everywhere at once. Monthly transit question 7. What is the best time and area this month for reflection, review, or recalibration? This question is not about delay or inaction. It is about recognizing when and where stepping back, reassessing, or adjusting is the most effective response to current transits. Clients often experience this as, why do I feel the need to pause or rethink things? Where should I review instead of push forward? What needs adjustment rather than effort? For students, this question trains how to read monthly timing for reflection, not stagnation. Why this question matters? Not every month supports constant forward motion. Monthly transits often signal periods where insight, correction, or refinement are more valuable than action. Without this understanding, clients may feel frustrated or unproductive. This question teaches astrologers to frame reflection as strategic alignment, not setback. Step 1. Identify transits favoring review or pause. Begin by locating transits that naturally slow momentum or redirect attention inward. Primary indicators: retrograde planets, especially Mercury. Review, revision, reassessment. Balsamic moon phase, closure and integration. Saturn aspects requiring caution or recalibration. These transits signal that reflection is productive. Step 2. Locate the activated natal houses. Next, identify where reflection is most useful. The house ruled by or containing the retrograde planet shows the life area under review. Saturn's contact highlights where structure or responsibility needs adjustment. Lunar phases indicate emotional or psychological recalibration zones. This step grounds reflection in specific life areas. Step 3. Synthesize the purpose of reflection. At this stage, clarify why reflection is required. Ask, is something misaligned, incomplete, or outdated? Is review meant to improve quality or prevent error? Is the pause temporary or preparatory? This synthesis helps clients understand the function of slowing down. Step 4. Identify common mistakes during review periods. Clients often misinterpret review phases as loss of momentum, failure to progress, external blockage. Tie these misinterpretations back to transit logic so clients understand that recalibration protects future progress. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Client guidance should emphasize intentional pause, focus on revisiting plans or assumptions, correcting errors early, allowing insight before commitment. This helps clients use reflective periods constructively. Step 6. Optional enhancement. If helpful, a single symbolic overlay, such as a tarot archetype related to introspection or adjustment, may be used to anchor understanding. Overlays should summarize reflection, not delay outcomes. Client translation. This month supports reflection in specific areas. When you pause intentionally, you prevent bigger corrections later. Monthly transit question 8. How should I manage my resources, finances, or material priorities this month? This question is not about long-term wealth patterns or financial destiny. It is about understanding how to manage resources wisely under current conditions, including money, time, energy, and practical assets during this specific month. Clients often experience this as, should I spend, save, or hold back right now? Why does money or resource management feel different this month? What practical priorities need attention? For students, this question trains how to read monthly material emphasis, not natal financial capacity. Why this question matters. Monthly transits often affect resource flow and material focus, even when income or circumstances remain stable. Without awareness, clients may overextend or become unnecessarily cautious. This question teaches astrologers to guide practical decision-making aligned with timing. Step 1. Identify resources activating transits. Begin by locating transits that influence material matters and value exchange. Primary indicators: transiting Venus aspects, money flow, values, spending patterns. Transits to the 2nd or 8th houses, personal resources and shared assets. Saturn aspects, budgeting, responsibility, or restraint. These transits show when resource awareness becomes important. Step 2. Locate the activated natal houses. Next, determine where material focus is emphasized. The 2nd house highlights income, possessions, and priorities. The 8th house emphasizes shared resources, obligations, or debts. Saturn activation shows where caution or planning is needed. This step grounds financial guidance in specific life areas. Step 3. Synthesize the resource theme. At this stage, clarify how resources should be managed this month. Ask, is this a month for conservation, restructuring, or selective investment? Are values shifting in a way that affects spending choices? Does resource management require discipline or flexibility? This synthesis prevents impulsive or fear-based decisions. Step 4. Identify common resources pitfalls. Clients may mismanage resources by reacting emotionally to short-term fluctuations, overcommitting financially or energetically, ignoring practical signals. Tie these tendencies back to transit duration so clients understand temporary conditions. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Client guidance should emphasize conscious allocation, focus on prioritizing essential expenditures, pacing investments or commitments, aligning spending with current values. This helps clients maintain stability without stagnation. Step 6. Optional enhancement. If helpful, a single symbolic overlay, such as a tarot archetype related to balance or stewardship, may be used to anchor understanding. Overlays should summarize material focus, not predict financial outcomes. Client translation. This month asks for mindful resource management. When you align spending and effort with current priorities, stability improves. Monthly transit question 9. What themes around work, career, or responsibility are active this month? This question is not about long-term career destiny or vocational identity. It is about identifying short-term professional emphasis where work demands, responsibilities, or public roles require attention during the specific month. Clients often experience this as, why is work more demanding right now? What should I focus on professionally this month? Why do responsibilities feel highlighted? For students, this question trains how to read monthly professional focus, not natal career patterns. Why this question matters. Monthly transits frequently activate work-related themes without changing career direction. Without awareness, clients may overinterpret temporary pressure as dissatisfaction or permanent imbalance. This question teaches astrologers to separate monthly responsibility cycles from long-term vocational meaning. Step 1. Identify career-activating transits. Begin by locating transits that influence structure, responsibility, and public engagement. Primary indicators. Transiting Sun, Mars, or Saturn contacting the natal midheaven. Transits through the 10th house, visibility, accountability, authority. Hard aspects to natal Saturn, increased duty or pressure. These transits show when professional focus intensifies. Step 2. Locate the activated natal houses. Next, identify where work emphasis appears. The 10th house highlights public roles and leadership. The 6th house shows daily work routines and obligations. Saturn activation indicates where effort and discipline are required. This step grounds professional themes in practical context. Step 3. Synthesize the monthly work theme. At this stage, clarify what kind of professional focus is present. Ask, is the emphasis on responsibility, visibility, or execution? Does work require consistency, initiative, or accountability? Is this a month for stepping up or stabilizing systems? This synthesis keeps the interpretation realistic and actionable. Step 4. Identify common misreadings. Clients often misinterpret work transits as permanent dissatisfaction, external judgment, pressure without purpose. Tie these reactions back to the temporary nature of monthly activation, helping clients contextualize stress. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Client guidance should emphasize professional pacing, focus on meeting obligations without overextension, recognizing where leadership is expected, separating short-term demands from long-term identity. This helps clients respond with confidence rather than anxiety. Step 6. Optional enhancement. If helpful, a single symbolic overlay such as a tarot archetype related to responsibility or authority may be used to anchor understanding. Overlays should summarize professional focus, not interpret outcomes. Client translation. This month brings professional themes into focus. When you meet responsibilities steadily, momentum stabilizes rather than overwhelms. Monthly transit question 10. Where am I likely to experience the greatest sense of fulfillment or satisfaction this month? This question is not about long-term happiness or life purpose. It is about identifying where the month offers a sense of engagement, enjoyment, or meaningful participation even if results are modest or temporary. Clients often experience this as, what feels rewarding right now? Where do I feel more aligned this month? What brings a sense of ease or meaning at the moment? For students, this question trains how to read monthly fulfillment, not natal joy or destiny. Why this question matters? Clients often judge fulfillment by external achievement. Monthly transits show that satisfaction can come from engagement, not outcome. Recognizing where fulfillment is available helps clients avoid frustration and appreciate alignment where it exists. This question teaches astrologers to identify where the month supports positive engagement. Step 1. Identify fulfillment-enhancing transits. Begin by locating transits that support ease, enjoyment, or meaningful flow. Primary indicators: supportive Venus or Jupiter transits to natal personal planets, trines and sextiles activating natal placements, lunations that highlight creative or expressive houses. These transits indicate where satisfaction is more accessible. Step 2. Locate the activated natal houses. Next, identify where fulfillment is most likely felt. The house activated by Venus or Jupiter shows where enjoyment arises. The 5th house emphasizes creative pleasure and expression. The 9th house highlights meaning, perspective, and inspiration. This step grounds fulfillment in real-life experience rather than abstract ideals. Step 3. Synthesize the nature of fulfillment. At this stage, clarify how fulfillment is experienced this month. Ask, is satisfaction coming through creativity, connection, learning, or contribution? Is the fulfillment quiet and internal or active and outward? Does it arise through participation rather than achievement? This synthesis keeps expectations realistic and grounded. Step 4. Identify common misalignments. Clients may miss fulfillment by overlooking small but meaningful moments, expecting fulfillment in inactive areas, dismissing enjoyment as unproductive. Tie these tendencies back to transit emphasis so clients recognize where appreciation matters. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Client guidance should emphasize engagement over expectation. Focus on noticing where energy feels lighter, allowing enjoyment without justification, engaging meaningfully without pressure. This helps clients experience alignment without forcing outcomes. Step 6. Optional enhancement. If helpful, a single symbolic overlay, such as a tarot archetype related to joy or alignment, may be used to anchor awareness. Overlays should summarize fulfillment, not define happiness. Client translation. This month offers fulfillment in specific areas. When you engage where energy flows easily, satisfaction follows naturally. Monthly transit. Question 11. What is the best timing this month for decisions, commitments, or important choices? This question is not about predicting outcomes or guaranteeing success. It is about identifying when the month is more supportive or less supportive of making decisions, agreements, or commitments. Clients often experience this as, should I decide now or wait? Is this a good time to commit? Why does clarity feel stronger at certain points this month? For students, this question trains how to read decision timing, not long-term fate. Why this question matters? Many clients struggle not because they make poor choices, but because they make choices at misaligned times. Monthly transits help astrologers guide when to decide, not what to decide. This question teaches astrologers to frame timing as strategic awareness, not hesitation. Step 1. Identify transits affecting clarity and judgment. Begin by locating transits that influence mental clarity, decisiveness, and evaluation. Primary indicators: transiting Mercury aspects, thinking, communication, decision processes. Mercury retrograde or station periods, review versus commitment. Saturn aspects, seriousness, responsibility, and long-term consequences. These transits shape how clearly decisions can be made. Step 2. Locate the activated natal houses. Next, determine where decisions are being emphasized. The house activated by Mercury shows the life area requiring consideration. Saturn activation highlights decisions with lasting implications. Retrograde emphasis suggests revisiting rather than finalizing. This step grounds decision timing in specific contexts. Step 3. Synthesize the decision window. At this stage, clarify the quality of the decision window. Ask, is this month better for deciding, reviewing, or delaying? Are decisions best made early, mid-month, or after a specific transit passes? Does the chart suggest incremental commitment rather than final choice? This synthesis keeps guidance realistic and nuanced. Step 4. Identify common timing mistakes. Clients often misinterpret decision timing by rushing decisions during low clarity periods, delaying when conditions are actually supportive, confusing emotional urgency with readiness. Tie these patterns back to transit logic so clients understand why timing matters. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Client guidance should emphasize measured commitment. Focus on making decisions when clarity is present, allowing time for review when needed, separating temporary pressure from genuine readiness. This helps clients commit with confidence rather than regret. Step 6. Optional enhancement. If helpful, a single symbolic overlay, such as a tarot archetype related to judgment or choice, may be used to anchor understanding. Overlays should summarize timing, not predict outcomes. Client translation. This month has specific windows for decision-making. When you align your choices with clarity rather than pressure, commitment feels steadier. Monthly Transit Question 12. What is the best way to learn, communicate, or exchange information this month? This question is not about permanent communication style or intellectual ability. It is about understanding how information moves most effectively during this specific month. How to learn, speak, listen, teach, or share ideas in alignment with current transits. Clients often experience this as, why do conversations feel easier or harder right now? What's the best way to communicate this month? How should I approach learning or sharing information? For students, this question trains how to read monthly information dynamics, not natal mental patterns. Why this question matters. Monthly transits often shape how messages are received and processed, even when content remains the same. Without awareness, clients may misinterpret misunderstandings as personal issues rather than timing-related effects. This question teaches astrologers to guide clearer communication through timing awareness. Step 1. Identify communication influencing transits. Begin by locating transits that affect thinking, messaging, and exchange. Primary indicators. Transiting Mercury aspects, clarity, speed, or review. Mercury's sign and phase, direct, retrograde, station, tone and pacing. Lunations activating the 3rd or 9th houses, learning and teaching themes. These transits set the communication climate of the month. Step 2. Locate the activated natal houses. Next, identify where communication and learning are emphasized. The 3rd house highlights daily communication and information exchange. The 9th house emphasizes broader understanding, study, or perspective. Mercury's house transit shows where dialogue is most active. This step grounds communication guidance in real-life contexts. Step 3. Synthesize the information flow. At this stage, clarify how communication works best this month. Ask, is this month better for speaking, listening, or revising? Does communication benefit from precision or openness? Is learning best approached incrementally or expansively? This synthesis helps clients adapt communication style without frustration. Step 4. Identify communication pitfalls. Clients may mismanage information by speaking too quickly or too vaguely, assuming understanding without confirmation, pushing clarity during review-oriented phases. Tie these tendencies back to transit conditions so clients understand why adjustment matters. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Client guidance should emphasize adaptive communication. Focus on choosing appropriate pacing, clarifying expectations, remaining flexible in dialogue. This helps clients maintain clarity without force. Step 6. Optional enhancement. If helpful, a single symbolic overlay, such as a tarot archetype related to learning or communication, may be used to anchor understanding. Overlays should summarize communication tone, not interpret content. Client translation. This month has a particular communication rhythm. When you adapt to it, learning and dialogue flow more smoothly. Monthly Transit Question 13. How is my energy and vitality best managed this month? This question is not about health diagnoses or long-term stamina. It is about understanding how energy fluctuates this month and how to pace effort, rest, and engagement in alignment with current transits. Clients often experience this as, why does my energy feel different this month? When should I push and when should I rest? Why do I feel more drained or energized at certain times? For students, this question trains how to read monthly energy management, not natal vitality. Why this question matters. Many clients misinterpret low or fluctuating energy as laziness or burnout. Monthly transits often explain temporary changes in vitality, helping clients adjust pacing rather than forcing performance. This question teaches astrologers to normalize energy shifts as timing related, not personal failure. Step 1. Identify energy modulating transits. Begin by locating transits that influence physical drive, stamina, and vitality. Primary indicators: transiting Mars, energy output, drive, and physical effort. Sun aspects to natal planets, vitality and focus. Lunar phases, short-term energy ebb and flow. These transits describe how energy is supplied and depleted this month. Step 2. Locate the activated natal houses. Next, determine where energy is most demanded or restored. The house transited by Mars shows where effort is required. The house transited by the Sun highlights vitality focus. Lunar activation shows emotional, physical energy interplay. This step grounds energy awareness in specific life areas. Step 3. Synthesize the monthly energy pattern. At this stage, clarify how energy behaves this month. Ask, is energy best used in bursts or sustained effort? Are there clear peaks and rest phases? Does vitality require protection or expression? This synthesis helps clients pace themselves intelligently. Step 4. Identify energy mismanagement patterns. Clients often mismanage energy by pushing through natural low energy phases, ignoring rest signals, overcommitting during brief energy spikes. Tie these patterns back to transit duration so clients respect temporary cycles. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Client guidance should emphasize sustainable pacing. Focus on aligning effort with energy peaks, allowing rest without guilt, adjusting expectations temporarily. This helps clients maintain balance without frustration. Step 6. Optional enhancement. If helpful, a single symbolic overlay, such as a Toro archetype related to strength or vitality, may be used to anchor awareness. Overlays should summarize energy themes, not predict outcomes. Client translation. This month has its own energy rhythm. When you pace yourself with it, you avoid burnout and use your strength more effectively. Monthly transit question 14. Which social environments, groups, or external influences are most active this month? This question is not about permanent friendships, long-term alliances, or belonging patterns. It is about understanding which social spaces, networks, or collective environments are activated during this month, and how they influence engagement and perspective. Clients often experience this as, why am I interacting with new groups right now? Why do certain people or communities feel more relevant this month? Why does social influence seem stronger or weaker right now? For students, this question trains how to read monthly social activation, not natal social identity. Why this question matters. Monthly transits frequently shift where influence comes from: social circles, professional networks, or collective spaces. Without awareness, clients may feel pulled into environments that are temporary or misinterpret short-term social emphasis as permanent change. This question teaches astrologers to contextualize social engagement as time-bound. Step 1. Identify socially activating transits. Begin by locating transits that emphasize learning, insight, or maturation. Primary indicators: transiting Saturn aspects, discipline, responsibility, inner structure. Transiting Jupiter aspects, perspective, understanding, expansion of meaning. Lunations activating the 9th or 12th houses, reflection, integration. These transits indicate growth through awareness rather than action. Step 2. Locate the activated natal houses. Next, identify where development is being encouraged. The ninth house highlights growth through learning, belief, or perspective. The 12th house emphasizes internal processing and integration. Saturn activation shows where maturity is required. This step grounds personal growth in specific life domains. Step 3. Synthesize the growth theme. At this stage, clarify how growth is occurring this month. Ask, is growth coming through experience, limitation, or insight? Does development require patience or trust? Is the learning internal before it becomes external? This synthesis helps clients value subtle transformation. Step 4. Identify growth resistance patterns. Clients may resist growth by focusing only on external results, dismissing reflection as unproductive, avoiding discomfort linked to learning. Tie these tendencies back to transit duration so clients recognize growth as ongoing, not immediate. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Client guidance should emphasize conscious awareness. Focus on noticing recurring lessons, allowing insight to mature, trusting gradual development. This helps clients engage with growth without pressure. Step 6. Optional enhancement. If helpful, a single symbolic overlay, such as a tarot archetype related to wisdom or inner development, may be used to anchor understanding. Overlays should summarize growth, not define meaning. Client translation. This month is shaping you from the inside. When you pay attention to what you're learning, growth happens naturally. Monthly transit question 15. Personal growth or inner development is being encouraged this month. This question is not about long-term self-improvement or life lessons. It is about identifying what the month is quietly teaching, where experience, reflection, or challenge is shaping awareness and maturity during this specific period. Clients often experience this as, what am I meant to learn right now? Why does this month feel reflective or instructive? What inner shift is happening beneath the surface? For students, this question trains how to read monthly developmental themes, not natal evolution. Why this question matters. Not all growth is visible or measurable. Monthly transits often encourage internal adjustment before external change. Without awareness, clients may dismiss subtle growth as stagnation. This question teaches astrologers to recognize learning and process, not outcome-based progress. Step 1. Identify development-oriented transits. Begin by locating transits that emphasize learning, insight, or maturation. Primary indicators: transiting Saturn aspects, discipline, responsibility, inner structure. Transiting Jupiter aspects, perspective, understanding, expansion of meaning. Lunations activating the 9th or 12th houses, reflection, integration. These transits indicate growth through awareness rather than action. Step 2. Locate the activated natal houses. Next, identify where development is being encouraged. The 9th house highlights growth through learning, belief, or perspective. The 12th house emphasizes internal processing and integration. Saturn activation shows where maturity is required. This step grounds personal growth in specific life domains. Step 3. Synthesize the growth theme. At this stage, clarify how growth is occurring this month. Ask, is growth coming through experience, limitation, or insight? Does development require patience or trust? Is the learning internal before it becomes external? This synthesis helps clients value subtle transformation. Step 4. Identify growth resistance patterns. Clients may resist growth by focusing only on external results, dismissing reflection as unproductive, avoiding discomfort linked to learning. Tie these tendencies back to transit duration so clients recognize growth as ongoing, not immediate. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Client guidance should emphasize conscious awareness. Focus on noticing recurring lessons, allowing insight to mature, trusting gradual development. This helps clients engage with growth without pressure. Step 6. Optional enhancement. If helpful, a single symbolic overlay, such as a tarot archetype related to wisdom or inner development, may be used to anchor understanding. Overlays should summarize growth, not define meaning. Client translation. This month is shaping you from the inside. When you pay attention to what you're learning, growth happens naturally. Monthly transit question 16. Where do I need clear boundaries or limits this month? This question is not about withdrawal or fear. It is about identifying where structure, limits, or conscious restraint are required so that energy, time, and attention are not depleted during the month. Clients often experience this as, why do I feel stretched too thin right now? Where am I giving too much? What do I need to protect this month? For students, this question trains how to read monthly boundary setting, not long-term defense patterns. Why this question matters. Monthly transits often highlight areas where overextension is costly. Without awareness, clients may agree to too much, absorb others' demands, or ignore practical limits. This question teaches astrologers to frame boundaries as supportive structure, not rejection. Step 1. Identify boundary-setting transits. Begin by locating transits that emphasize limits, containment, or responsibility. Primary indicators: transiting Saturn aspects, necessity for structure and boundaries. Saturn transiting a natal house cusp, redefining limits in that area. Hard aspects to natal personal planets, pressure requiring discernment. These transits show where saying no is protective rather than restrictive. Step 2. Locate the activated natal houses. Next, determine where boundaries are most needed. The house being transited by Saturn highlights where limits must be respected. Houses receiving hard aspects indicate areas of overcommitment risk. Saturn activation reveals where responsibility must be clarified. This step grounds boundary setting in specific life areas. Step 3. Synthesize the boundary theme. At this stage, clarify what kind of boundary is required. Ask, is the limit emotional, time-based, energetic, or logistical? Is the boundary about responsibility, availability, or expectation? Does structure create relief rather than restriction? This synthesis helps clients see boundaries as stabilizing. Step 4. Identify boundary violations. Clients often ignore boundary signals by agreeing out of obligation, absorbing stress that isn't theirs, delaying necessary limits. Tie these patterns back to Saturn's role so clients understand why boundaries are necessary now. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Client guidance should emphasize clear containment. Focus on defining limits explicitly, honoring capacity without guilt, understanding that boundaries protect future engagement. This helps clients remain steady rather than drained. Step 6. Optional enhancement. If helpful, a single symbolic overlay, such as a tarot archetype related to structure or discipline, may be used to anchor understanding. Overlays should summarize boundaries, not moralize behavior. Client translation. This month requires clearer limits in certain areas. When you define boundaries consciously, you preserve energy and stability. Monthly transit question 17. Where can I expect support, assistance, or cooperation this month? This question is not about dependence or guarantees. It is about identifying where the current transits make cooperation, help, or easing of effort more accessible, whether through people, circumstances, or internal readiness. Clients often experience this as, where will things feel a little easier this month? Who or what might support me right now? Where don't I have to do everything alone? For students, this question trains how to read monthly support channels, not long-term reliance patterns. Why this question matters. Clients often focus on challenges and overlook available support. Monthly transits frequently indicate where effort is shared or softened, allowing progress with less strain. This question teaches astrologers to balance challenge-focused readings with awareness of where help exists. Step 2. Locate the activated natal houses. Next, determine where support is most available. The house of the natal planet receiving supportive aspects shows the life area assisted. Venus activation indicates relational or value-based support. Jupiter activation suggests opportunity, encouragement, or perspective. This step grounds support in concrete life areas. Step 3. Synthesize the form of support. At this stage, clarify how support manifests. Ask, does support come through people, circumstances, or internal readiness? Is assistance direct or indirect? Does support require asking, or does it appear naturally? This synthesis helps clients recognize help without dependency. Step 4. Identify missed support opportunity. Clients may overlook support by assuming they must manage everything alone, dismissing help as insignificant, resisting cooperation out of habit. Tie these tendencies back to transit symbolism so clients learn to notice support when it's available. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Client guidance should emphasize receiving appropriately. Focus on allowing cooperation where offered, recognizing ease without guilt, using support strategically, not passively. This helps clients move forward without overexertion. Step 6. Optional enhancement. If helpful, a single symbolic overlay, such as a tarot archetype related to assistance or harmony, may be used to anchor understanding. Overlays should summarize support, not promise outcomes. Client translation. This month offers support in specific areas. When you allow cooperation, progress feels lighter and more sustainable. Monthly transit question 18. What should I approach with caution or avoid this month? This question is not about fear or restriction. It is about recognizing where conditions are less supportive, so effort, decisions, or exposure can be managed wisely during this specific month. Clients often experience this as, what should I not push right now? Where might mistakes or misunderstandings happen? What needs extra care this month? For students, this question trains how to read monthly caution zones, not long-term limitations. Why this question matters. Monthly transits often reveal areas where pushing forward creates unnecessary friction. Without this awareness, clients may confuse resistance with failure. This question teaches astrologers to frame caution as strategic timing, not avoidance. Step 1. Identify caution flagging transits. Begin by locating transits that suggest delay, confusion, or increased risk. Primary indicators: hard aspects, squares, oppositions from transiting planets to natal personal planets. Mercury retrograde periods, increased chance of miscommunication or error. Neptune aspects, ambiguity, diffusion, or unclear boundaries. These transits highlight areas needing extra attention. Step 2. Locate the activated natal houses. Next, identify where caution is advised. The house of the natal planet receiving hard aspects shows the risk area. Mercury activation affects communication, travel, and decisions. Neptune activation signals unclear expectations in specific life areas. This step grounds caution in concrete contexts. Step 3. Synthesize the nature of risk. At this stage, clarify what kind of caution is needed. Ask, is the risk logistical, emotional, communicative, or perceptual? Does caution mean slowing down or seeking clarity? Is the issue about timing rather than competence? This synthesis prevents unnecessary anxiety. Step 4. Identify common overreactions. Clients may misinterpret caution by avoiding areas entirely instead of adjusting approach, assuming negative outcomes are inevitable, becoming overly defensive. Tie these reactions back to transit duration so clients remember temporary conditions. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Client guidance should emphasize measured awareness. Focus on double-checking details, postponing non-essential risks, choosing clarity over speed. This helps clients navigate the month safely without paralysis. Step 6. Optional enhancement. If helpful, a single symbolic overlay, such as a tarot archetype related to discernment or prudence, may be used to anchor understanding. Overlays should summarize caution, not predict problems. Client translation. This month has areas that require extra care. When you slow down and stay attentive, you avoid unnecessary complications. Monthly transit question 19. What is reaching completion, resolution, or closure this month? This question is not about loss or final endings. It is about recognizing where a cycle is concluding, allowing the client to integrate experience and release what no longer needs active effort during this specific month. Clients often experience this as, why does this situation feel complete? Why does my attention feel ready to move on? What can I stop carrying forward? For students, this question trains how to read monthly closure cycles, not long-term endings. Why this question matters. Monthly transits often signal moments of resolution rather than continuation. Without recognizing closure, clients may unnecessarily prolong effort or resist natural completion. This question teaches astrologers to frame endings as integration points, not loss. Step 1. Identify completion-oriented transits. Begin by locating transits that indicate culmination, release, or conclusion. Primary indicators: full moons, culmination, awareness, and release. Planetary exits from a natal house or sign, closing emphasis. Saturn aspects completing a series, resolution through responsibility. These transits suggest a cycle is ready to close. Step 2. Locate the activated natal houses. Next, identify where completion is occurring. The house activated by the full moon shows where closure is available. A planet leaving a house indicates a shift in focus away from that area. Saturn completion aspects highlight lessons that have matured. This step grounds closure in specific life contexts. Step 3. Synthesize the nature of completion. At this stage, clarify what kind of closure is present. Ask, is something ending emotionally, practically, or mentally? Does closure require acknowledgement rather than action? Is the resolution internal or external? This synthesis helps clients recognize completion without forcing finality. Step 4. Identify resistance to closure. Clients may resist closure by holding on out of habit, seeking continued validation, confusing completion with failure. Tie these reactions back to transit symbolism so clients understand why release is appropriate now. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Client guidance should emphasize conscious release, focus on acknowledging what has run its course, integrating lessons learned, allowing energy to free up naturally. This helps clients move forward without unnecessary attachment. Step 6. Optional enhancement. If helpful, a single symbolic overlay, such as a tarot archetype related to completion or integration, may be used to anchor understanding. Overlays should summarize closure, not dramatize endings. Client translation. This month allows certain things to complete. When you acknowledge what's finished, you create space for what comes next. Monthly Transit Question 20. What is the overall theme or message of this month when all transits are considered together? This question is not about events or outcomes. It is about understanding the monthly narrative, the overarching tone, lesson, or focus that emerges when all significant transits are viewed together. Clients often experience this as, what is this month really about for me? How do all these influences fit together? What's the bigger picture right now? For students, this question trains monthly synthesis, not isolated transit interpretation. Why this question matters. Many transit readings fail because they feel fragmented, one transit at a time without cohesion. A professional monthly reading must conclude with a clear, integrated theme that the client can remember and apply. This question teaches astrologers how to prioritize relevant transits, integrate focus, challenge, support, and closure, communicate a unified monthly message. Without this step, monthly readings feel incomplete. Step 1. Identify the dominant transit drivers. Begin by reviewing the most influential transits of the month. Primary indicators: the sun's monthly journey through a specific house, major lunations setting initiation or completion themes, any exact or repeating transits to natal personal planets. These factors form the backbone of the month's story. Step 2. Weigh supporting and secondary influences. Next, consider how other transits reinforce or modify the main theme. Supportive transits show ease or opportunity. Challenging transits show pressure or refinement. Background transits add atmosphere without dominating. This step teaches students discernment, not accumulation. Step 1. Identify the dominant. At this stage, articulate the month in one coherent frame. Ask, is this month about initiation, adjustment, consolidation, or release? Does the tone emphasize action, reflection, or integration? How do earlier answers, questions 21 to 39, converge? This synthesis creates clarity without oversimplification. Step 4. Translate the theme into usable language. The monthly theme should be short, memorable, practical. Avoid listing transits. Focus on meaning and orientation. This helps clients use the reading rather than analyze it. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Client guidance should emphasize how to move through the month. Focus on aligning effort with the monthly theme, responding rather than reacting, remembering the temporary nature of the cycle. This closes the reading with confidence and perspective. Step 6. Optional enhancement. If helpful, a single symbolic overlay, such as a tarot archetype representing the month's theme, may be used to anchor the message. Overlays should unify the narrative, not introduce new interpretation. Client translation. This month has a clear theme. When you understand what it's asking of you, everything else makes more sense. Common client questions. Brief introduction. This final section focuses on how clients actually ask questions. Unlike the Nativity and monthly transit sections, which train how to read charts, these questions train how to respond clearly, responsibly, and practically to real client concerns. Clients rarely ask about planets or houses directly. They ask about life situations, decisions, relationships, uncertainty, and direction. This section teaches astrologers how to translate technical insight into clear, grounded answers that meet clients where they are. Each question in this section integrates natal understanding, current timing, and practical judgment, without overloading the client with technique or abstraction. The goal here is not deeper analysis but effective communication. Common client question 1. What is the most important thing I should be paying attention to right now? This question is rarely asked exactly this way, but it underlies many client conversations. Clients may phrase it as, "What do I need to focus on? What am I missing right now? What actually matters at this point in my life?" This is often a clarity-seeking question, not a technical one. Clients feel overwhelmed, scattered, or uncertain, and want orientation more than information. For astrologers, this question trains prioritization and translation, not interpretation volume. Why this question matters. Clients often come with multiple concerns, but addressing everything at once dilutes clarity. A professional reading identifies what truly deserves attention now, helping clients regain focus and confidence. This question teaches astrologers to avoid information overload, identify the dominant life emphasis, speak with clarity and authority. Without this skill, readings feel unfocused or confusing. Step 1. Identify the dominant life emphasis. Begin by determining which life area is currently most emphasized. Look for the natal house receiving the strongest current activation, repetition of themes across natal structure and current timing, areas where attention, effort, or emotion naturally concentrate. This step establishes where life is already pulling focus. Step 2. Distinguish signal from noise. Clients often mistake secondary concerns for primary ones. Ask, which issues feel urgent but lack real activation? Which themes keep reappearing despite avoidance? Where does engagement actually change outcomes? This step teaches astrologers to filter relevance, not amplify anxiety. Step 3. Integrate natal priority with current timing. At this stage, blend structure with timing. Clarify what this area represents in the client's life, long term, why it is highlighted now, what kind of attention it requires, action, awareness, adjustment. This integration keeps guidance grounded and proportional. Step 4. Frame focus without pressure. Clients often fear that focusing on one area means neglecting others. Reassure them that attention is temporary and strategic. Focus does not imply permanence. Other areas can remain neutral without harm. This helps clients engage without guilt or fear. Step 5. Translate into clear client guidance. Client guidance should be simple and orienting. Focus on naming the primary area of attention, explaining why it matters now, offering one or two concrete ways to engage. Avoid overwhelming detail. Clarity matters more than completeness. Client translation. Right now, one area of your life needs your attention more than the others. When you focus there instead of spreading yourself thin, things start to make more sense. Common client question 2. Why do I feel stuck or unable to move forward right now? Clients rarely ask this in astrological terms. They usually say, I feel blocked. Nothing seems to be moving. I don't know why I can't make progress. This question is not about failure or lack of ability. It is about understanding temporary stagnation, uncertainty, or slowed momentum in a way that restores agency rather than frustration. For astrologers, this question trains how to explain pause without discouragement. Why this question matters. Feeling stuck often triggers self-blame or anxiety. A skilled astrologer can reframe stagnation as a meaningful phase, not a personal flaw. This builds trust and helps the client regain perspective. This question teaches astrologers to normalize pauses and delays, identify the real source of stagnation, redirect attention productively. Step 1. Identify where momentum is reduced. Begin by locating where movement is slowed. Look for current emphasis on review, recalibration, or consolidation. Areas of life receiving pressure without forward flow. Themes that feel repetitive or unresolved. This step helps separate actual blockage from temporary slowdown. Step 2. Clarify the nature of the stuck feeling. Not all stagnation is the same. Ask, is this a pause for reassessment? Is effort being applied in the wrong area? Is there resistance to an adjustment that's already underway? This reframing shifts the conversation from frustration to understanding. Step 3. Identify what is asking to change. Often, feeling stuck points to a misalignment. Clarify what approach is no longer effective. What assumption needs revision? What expectation may be outdated? This step restores movement by adjusting strategy, not effort. Step 4. Reframe stillness as information. Clients often fear that stillness means regression. Help them see that stillness can signal preparation. Pauses can prevent missteps. Clarity often emerges through slowing down. This reduces anxiety and self-judgment. Step 5. Translate into clear client guidance. Client guidance should be calming and orienting. Focus on what not to force right now. What can be observed or refined. How to stay engaged without pressure. This helps the client regain agency without urgency. Client translation. This doesn't mean you're failing or blocked. It means something is being adjusted. When you stop pushing against the pause, movement returns naturally. Common client question 3. Why do I feel stuck or unable to move forward right now? Clients rarely ask this in astrological terms. They usually say, I feel blocked. Nothing seems to be moving. I don't know why I can't make progress. This question is not about failure or lack of ability. It is about understanding temporary stagnation, uncertainty, or slowed momentum in a way that restores agency rather than frustration. For astrologers, this question trains how to explain pause without discouragement. Why this question matters. Feeling stuck often triggers self-blame or anxiety. A skilled astrologer can reframe stagnation as a meaningful phase, not a personal flaw. This builds trust and helps the client regain perspective. This question teaches astrologers to normalize pauses and delays, identify the real source of stagnation, redirect attention productively. Step 1. Identify where momentum is reduced. Begin by locating where movement is slowed. Look for current emphasis on review, recalibration, or consolidation. Areas of life receiving pressure without forward flow. Themes that feel repetitive or unresolved. This step helps separate actual blockage from temporary slowdown. Step 2. Clarify the nature of the stuck feeling. Not all stagnation is the same. Ask, is this a pause for reassessment? Is effort being applied in the wrong area? Is there resistance to an adjustment that's already underway? This reframing shifts the conversation from frustration to understanding. Step 3. Identify what is asking to change. Often, feeling stuck points to a misalignment. Clarify. What approach is no longer effective? What assumption needs revision? What expectation may be outdated? This step restores movement by adjusting strategy, not effort. Step 4. Reframe stillness as information. Clients often fear that stillness means regression. Help them see that. Stillness can signal preparation. Pauses can prevent missteps. Clarity often emerges through slowing down. This reduces anxiety and self-judgment. Step 5. Translate into clear client guidance. Client guidance should be calming and orienting. Focus on what not to force right now, what can be observed or refined, how to stay engaged without pressure. This helps the client regain agency without urgency. Client translation. This doesn't mean you're failing or blocked. It means something is being adjusted. When you stop pushing against the pause, movement returns naturally. Common client question. 4. What is really going on in my relationship right now? Clients rarely ask this neutrally. They often say, I don't know where we stand. Something feels off, but I can't explain it. Is this relationship changing? This question is not about labeling a relationship as right or wrong. It is about understanding current dynamics, timing, and emotional tone so the client can respond consciously rather than reactively. For astrologers, this question trains how to address relationship uncertainty without taking sides or making predictions. Why this question matters. Relationship questions are emotionally charged. Clients may seek reassurance, validation, or answers about another person's intentions. A professional astrologer reframes the question toward what is active now and what the client can work with, rather than speculating about outcomes. This question teaches astrologers to ground relationship insight in present dynamics, avoid mind reading or guarantees, keep the focus on agency and awareness. Step 1. Identify the current relationship climate. Begin by clarifying the tone of the relationship right now. Look for increased sensitivity, distance, or intensity, communication shifts or emotional reactivity, themes of reassessment, closeness, or recalibration. This step sets context without judgment. Step 2. Separate timing from meaning. Clients often assume timing equals truth. Help them see. Temporary shifts do not define the relationship's value. Closeness and distance can be cyclical. Uncertainty often signals adjustment, not failure. This prevents premature conclusions. Step 3. Clarify what the relationship is asking for. Instead of asking where it's going, reframe to what it needs now. Explore clearer communication, patience or space, honest reflection. This shifts the focus from outcome to engagement. Step 4. Bring the focus back to the client. Clients often fixate on the other person. Gently redirect attention to how the client is responding, what they are tolerating or avoiding, what they need to feel grounded. This restores agency without dismissing emotion. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Client guidance should be steady and grounding. Focus on responding rather than reacting, staying present with what is unfolding, avoiding forced decisions during uncertainty. This supports emotional clarity without pressure. Client translation. What you're experiencing right now is a phase of adjustment. When you focus on clarity and responsiveness rather than certainty, the relationship becomes easier to understand. Common client question 5. Am I on the right path with my career or life direction? Clients almost never ask this casually. They usually say, "I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. Should I change direction? What if I'm wasting time?" This question is not about finding a single correct path. It is about understanding alignment, timing, and engagement so the client can evaluate direction without fear. For astrologers, this question trains how to address directional doubt without reinforcing anxiety or dependency. Why this question matters. Career and life direction questions often carry fear of regret, comparison, or falling behind. A skilled astrologer reframes this concern away from absolute right or wrong thinking and toward fit growth and timing. This question teaches astrologers to reduce fear-based urgency, distinguish misalignment from transition, support agency rather than external validation. Handled poorly, this question creates pressure. Handled well, it restores perspective. Step 1. Identify the source of doubt. Begin by clarifying why the client is questioning their direction. Look for dissatisfaction with pace rather than direction, external comparison or pressure, fatigue, boredom, or lack of engagement. This step prevents mislabeling discomfort as failure. Step 2. Separate direction from timing. Clients often confuse timing issues with wrong choices. Help them see. Slow periods do not invalidate direction. Questioning often appears at transition points. Growth may require refinement, not replacement. This reframing reduces panic and restores clarity. Step 3. Clarify what the path is developing. Instead of asking where this is going, ask what it is building. Explore. Skills being developed, perspective being gained, maturity or competence forming. This shifts the focus from outcome to process. Step 4. Normalize recalibration without failure. Clients often believe change means they were wrong before. Reframe by explaining, paths evolve as people evolve. Adjustment is part of alignment. Refinement does not negate past effort. This helps clients hold flexibility without self-judgment. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Client guidance should emphasize engaged evaluation. Focus on 1. Staying present with current responsibilities. Noticing where engagement still exists. Allowing course correction without urgency. This supports grounded decision-making. Client translation. Questioning your path doesn't mean you're off it. It often means you're at a point where adjustment, not abandonment, is needed. Common client question 6. Why do I feel emotionally overwhelmed or mentally overloaded right now? Clients often express this indirectly. They may say, "I feel drained all the time. Everything feels like too much. I can't think clearly anymore." This question is not about weakness or emotional instability. It is about understanding temporary overload. Too many demands, signals, or expectations converging at once. For astrologers, this question trains how to explain overwhelm without pathologizing emotion. Why this question matters. Emotional overwhelm can make clients doubt their judgment, capacity, or resilience. A skilled astrologer helps the client see overwhelm as a signal, not a failure, and restores a sense of proportion and choice. This question teaches astrologers to normalize overload without minimizing it. Identify sources of saturation. Help clients regain mental and emotional space. Step 1. Identify where demands are converging. Begin by clarifying what is pulling on the client at the same time. Look for multiple responsibilities demanding attention, competing priorities with no clear hierarchy, emotional demands layered over practical ones. This step helps separate intensity from incapacity. Step 2. Distinguish sensitivity from saturation. Clients often think they are too sensitive. Help them see. Overwhelm often comes from quantity, not fragility. Even strong people overload under constant input. Clarity returns when pressure is reduced. This reframing reduces self-criticism. Step 3. Identify what needs simplification. Overwhelm often signals excess. Explore what can be postponed or delegated. What expectations are unnecessary? What mental loops are draining energy? This step restores agency through simplification. Step 4. Normalize the need for containment. Clients may resist slowing down. Reframe by explaining. Containment restores clarity. Reducing input increases effectiveness. Boundaries are corrective, not avoidant. This helps clients accept limits without guilt. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Client guidance should be calming and practical. Focus on narrowing attention to essentials, allowing mental rest without justification, addressing one thing at a time. This helps clients regain steadiness. Client translation. You're not overwhelmed because you can't handle life. You're overwhelmed because too much is happening at once. When you simplify and contain, clarity returns. Common client question 7. Why am I doubting myself or my decisions right now? Clients often don't frame this directly. They usually say, I don't trust myself anymore. I keep second-guessing everything. Why do I feel unsure even after deciding? This question is not about incompetence or loss of ability. It is about understanding temporary erosion of confidence or clarity, often caused by pressure, change, or conflicting signals. For astrologers, this question trains how to address self-doubt without undermining the client's authority over their own life. Why this question matters. Self-doubt can quietly destabilize clients more than obvious problems. When confidence erodes, even simple choices feel heavy. A professional astrologer reframes doubt as a phase of reassessment, not evidence of failure. This question teaches astrologers to restore trust without false reassurance, distinguish reflection from insecurity, reinforce client agency and discernment. Step 1. Identify the source of the doubt. Begin by clarifying what triggered the uncertainty. Look for recent changes that disrupted certainty, conflicting advice or external opinions, increased self-scrutiny without new information. This step prevents mislabeling reflection as weakness. Step 2. Separate doubt from misalignment. Doubt does not always mean something is wrong. Help the client see. Doubt can signal refinement, not reversal. Uncertainty often appears before clarity strengthens. Questioning can be part of conscious growth. This reframing reduces panic. Step 3. Identify what is being reevaluated. Self-doubt usually centers on something specific. Explore beliefs that are no longer stable, decisions that need integration, not change, expectations that no longer fit. This restores focus and proportion. Step 4. Normalize pausing without undoing. Clients may feel pressured to fix doubt immediately. Reframe by explaining. Confidence stabilizes through experience, not force. Pausing does not erase progress. Clarity returns when pressure eases. This supports patience without stagnation. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Client guidance should emphasize reconnection with internal authority. Focus on slowing down self-judgment, noticing what still feels grounded, trusting process rather than certainty. This rebuilds confidence naturally. Client translation. This isn't a loss of trust in yourself. It's a moment of recalibration. When you stop questioning every step, confidence reforms on its own. Common client question 8. Why am I afraid of change even though I know something needs to shift? Clients often express this indirectly. They may say, I know things can't stay the same, but I'm scared to move. Part of me wants change and part of me resists it. Why can't I let go, even when I'm unhappy? This question is not about weakness or avoidance. It is about understanding the tension between safety and growth, which is a normal part of transition. For astrologers, this question trains how to explain resistance to change without judgment or pressure. Why this question matters. Clients often feel ashamed of their fear, especially when they intellectually understand the need for change. A skilled astrologer helps them see fear as protective, not obstructive. and guides them toward conscious movement rather than forced action. This question teaches astrologers to normalize ambivalence around change, distinguish readiness from urgency, support gradual transition. Step 1. Identify what the client is holding on to. Begin by clarifying what makes change difficult. Look for structures that provide familiarity or security, identities or roles the client has grown attached to, fear of loss rather than desire for gain. This step reveals what change threatens, not just what it promises. Step 2. Separate fear from misalignment. Clients often assume fear means they are choosing wrong. Help them see. Fear often accompanies meaningful growth. Discomfort does not invalidate intuition. Resistance can coexist with clarity. This reframing reduces internal conflict. Step 3. Identify what kind of change is being asked for. Not all change requires immediate action. Explore whether the shift is internal or external, whether change is gradual or decisive, whether preparation is still underway. This helps clients avoid premature or forced moves. Step 4. Normalize gradual transition. Clients may believe change must be dramatic. Reframe by explaining. Small adjustments often lead to larger shifts. Preparation is part of change. Safety and growth can overlap. This supports movement without overwhelm. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Client guidance should emphasize permission and pacing. Focus on allowing fear without letting it lead, taking manageable steps toward change, trusting that clarity strengthens through action. This helps clients move forward gently. Client translation. Fear doesn't mean you're wrong. It means something meaningful is shifting. When you move at a pace that feels steady, change becomes possible. Common client question 9. Why do I feel unmotivated or disconnected from things that used to matter to me? Clients often describe this quietly. They may say, "I just don't care the way I used to. Nothing excites me right now. I feel disconnected from things I once loved." This question is not about laziness or depression. It is about understanding temporary disengagement, loss of resonance, or shifting priorities that often occur during inner transitions. For astrologers, this question trains how to explain loss of motivation without pathologizing or dismissing it. Why this question matters. Loss of motivation often scares clients more than stress. They may fear something is wrong with them. A professional astrologer reframes disengagement as information, not failure, often a signal that values, direction, or energy are reorganizing. This question teaches astrologers to normalize disengagement without enabling avoidance, distinguish burnout from misalignment, help clients reconnect meaningfully, not force motivation. Step 1. Identify what has lost resonance. Begin by clarifying what no longer feels engaging. Look for activities that feel obligatory rather than meaningful, goals that no longer reflect current values, roles maintained out of habit rather than desire. This step helps separate loss of interest from loss of purpose. Step 2. Separate fatigue from value shift. Clients often confuse exhaustion with indifference. Help them see. Fatigue drains enthusiasm temporarily. Value shifts change what feels meaningful. Both can coexist during transition. This reframing prevents unnecessary self-judgment. Step 3. Identify what is reorganizing internally. Loss of motivation often accompanies inner realignment. Explore emerging interests that haven't fully formed, outdated goals losing relevance, a need for rest or reorientation. This restores curiosity instead of pressure. Step 4. Normalize the space between engagements. Clients may panic when old motivation fades before new direction appears. Reframe by explaining, disengagement creates space for new meaning. Emptiness is transitional, not permanent. Forcing passion delays genuine reconnection. This reduces anxiety around not knowing. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Client guidance should emphasize gentle re-engagement. Focus on allowing interest to return naturally, exploring without committing immediately, listening to subtle signals of curiosity. This helps clients rebuild meaning without force. Client translation. This doesn't mean you've lost your drive. It means what used to motivate you is changing. When you stop forcing engagement, meaning reorganizes itself. Common client question 10. When will things finally start to move or improve for me? Clients often ask this directly. They may say, "How much longer do I have to wait? When will things get better? Why is progress taking so long?" This question is not about prediction. It is about addressing impatience, fatigue with delay, and uncertainty around timing, without offering false certainty. For astrologers, this question trains how to handle timing questions ethically and realistically. Why this question matters. Timing anxiety can undermine a client's resilience. If handled poorly, this question can create dependency or false hope. A professional astrologer reframes timing as process and readiness, not a guaranteed date. This question teaches astrologers to reduce urgency without dismissing frustration, explain timing without prediction, help clients stay engaged during delays. Step 1. Identify the source of the urgency. Begin by clarifying why the client wants movement now. Look for fatigue from prolonged effort, comparison with others' timelines, fear that delay equals failure. This step helps separate emotional pressure from actual stagnation. Step 2. Distinguish delay from preparation. Clients often assume waiting means nothing is happening. Help them see. Preparation often precedes visible change. Consolidation can look like stagnation. Internal shifts often lead external ones. This reframing restores patience. Step 3. Identify signs of incremental movement. Progress does not always arrive dramatically. Explore. Small improvements already underway. Clarity forming behind the scenes. Reduced resistance or confusion. This shifts attention from arrival to momentum. Step 4. Avoid false precision. Astrologers must resist giving exact timelines. Instead, frame timing in phases rather than dates. Explain conditions rather than promises. Emphasize engagement over waiting. This preserves trust and realism. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Client guidance should emphasize sustained engagement. Focus on staying involved with what's developing, avoiding pressure to rush outcomes, trusting gradual momentum. This supports endurance without passivity. Client translation. Things are moving, even if it doesn't look dramatic yet. When you stop measuring progress by speed, improvement becomes easier to recognize. Common client question 11. Why do I feel tired or drained even when nothing seems wrong? Clients often struggle to articulate this clearly. They may say, "I'm exhausted, but I don't know why. I'm not unhappy, just worn out." Even rest doesn't seem to fully help. This question is not about crisis or illness. It is about understanding cumulative fatigue, the kind that builds quietly through responsibility, adaptation, or long-term pressure. For astrologers, this question trains how to address burnout without dramatizing or minimizing it. Why this question matters. Many clients dismiss exhaustion because they believe it must be justified by visible struggle. When fatigue goes unacknowledged, it deepens. A professional astrologer helps the client recognize depletion as a signal to rebalance, not a personal shortcoming. This question teaches astrologers to name burnout without labeling it as failure, distinguish tiredness from dissatisfaction, support recovery without withdrawal. Step 1. Identify the source of long-term drain. Begin by clarifying what has required sustained effort. Look for extended periods of responsibility without relief, emotional labor that hasn't been processed, ongoing adaptation to change. This step helps clients see fatigue as accumulated, not sudden. Step 2. Separate exhaustion from lack of motivation. Clients often assume tiredness means they've lost interest. Help them see Exhaustion reduces energy, not meaning. Burnout can coexist with commitment. Rest restores capacity, not direction. This reframing prevents unnecessary self-doubt. Step 3. Identify where recovery is needed. Burnout rarely affects everything equally. Explore whether fatigue is physical, emotional, or mental. Which areas feel most demanding? What kind of rest is actually restorative? This helps target recovery effectively. Step 4. Normalize the need for recovery cycles. Clients may resist slowing down. Reframe by explaining. Recovery is part of sustainable progress. Continuous output is not realistic. Renewal restores clarity and strength. This removes guilt around rest. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Client guidance should emphasize intentional replenishment, focus on reducing unnecessary obligations, creating space for genuine rest, allowing energy to rebuild gradually. This supports resilience without disengagement. Client translation. You're not tired because something is wrong. You're tired because you've been carrying a lot for a long time. When you allow recovery, energy returns naturally. Common client question 12. How do I trust what's unfolding when the future feels unclear? Clients often express this quietly rather than directly. They may say, "I don't know where this is going. I'm doing the work, but I can't see the outcome. How do I stay calm when I don't know what's next?" This question is not about prediction or reassurance. It is about helping the client remain grounded during uncertainty, without forcing answers that don't yet exist. For astrologers, this question trains how to support presence without certainty. Why this question matters. Periods of uncertainty can be more destabilizing than crisis. When the future feels undefined, clients may rush decisions or lose confidence in their path. A professional astrologer helps the client understand uncertainty as a phase of becoming, not a mistake. This question teaches astrologers to normalize not knowing, reduce future-based anxiety, reinforce stability in the present. Step 1. Identify what is actually unclear. Begin by clarifying what feels uncertain. Look for outcomes that haven't formed yet, transitions still in progress, external factors beyond the client's control. This step prevents vague anxiety from dominating the conversation. Step 2. Separate lack of vision from lack of direction. Clients often believe that not seeing the future means being lost. Help them see direction can exist without certainty. Clarity often follows engagement. Trust builds through experience, not foresight. This reframing reduces pressure to know. Step 3. Identify what is stable right now. Even during uncertainty, something is usually steady. Explore values that remain consistent, responsibilities that anchor the present, inner resources already developed. This restores grounding. Step 4. Normalize the transitional phase. Clients may fear uncertainty will last forever. Reframe by explaining, unclear phases precede new structure. Uncertainty is temporary and purposeful. Forcing clarity often delays real alignment. This reduces future anxiety. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Client guidance should emphasize presence and engagement. Focus on staying connected to what's workable now, releasing pressure to predict outcomes, trusting responsiveness over control. This helps clients move forward calmly. Client translation. You don't need to see the whole future to trust where you are. When you stay present with what's unfolding, clarity arrives in its own time. Common client question 13. Why is it so hard for me to let go of this situation or phase? Clients often circle this question emotionally. They may say, "I know this is over, but I can't move on. Why am I still attached? I don't understand why I'm holding on." This question is not about weakness or refusal to grow. It is about understanding attachment during transition, especially when something meaningful is ending or changing form. For astrologers, this question trains how to address release without forcing closure. Why this question matters. Letting go is often misunderstood as a decision rather than a process. Clients may judge themselves for lingering attachment, believing they should be over it by now. A professional astrologer reframes attachment as integration still in progress, not resistance. This question teaches astrologers to normalize attachment without enabling stagnation, distinguish emotional processing from avoidance, support release as a gradual unfolding. Step 1. Identify what is being held onto. Begin by clarifying what the attachment is really about. Look for identity tied to the situation, unresolved meaning or lessons, comfort in familiarity rather than current relevance. This step helps clients understand why release is difficult. Step 2. Separate letting go from erasing the past. Clients often fear that letting go means invalidating experience. Help them see. Release does not erase value. Integration honors what was learned. Memory and attachment are different. This reframing reduces internal conflict. Step 3. Identify what still needs integration. Difficulty letting go often signals unfinished processing. Explore lessons that haven't been acknowledged, emotions that haven't been fully felt, meaning that hasn't been consciously integrated. This restores movement without force. Step 4. Normalize the timing of release. Clients may pressure themselves to move on. Reframe by explaining. Release follows understanding, not deadlines. Attachment loosens naturally with clarity. Forcing closure prolongs struggle. This supports patience and self-compassion. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Client guidance should emphasize gentle release. Focus on honoring what has completed, allowing attachment to soften gradually, trusting that release happens organically. This helps clients disengage without resistance. Client translation. You're not holding on because you're stuck. You're holding on because something meaningful is still integrating. When understanding settles, letting go happens naturally. Common client question 14. Why do I keep experiencing the same pattern or situation again and again? Clients often ask this with frustration or confusion. They may say, "Why does this keep happening to me? I feel like I'm stuck in a loop. I thought I had already dealt with this." This question is not about blame or fate. It is about understanding recurring themes as developmental signals, not punishments or failures. For astrologers, this question trains how to explain repetition without fatalism. Why this question matters. Recurring patterns can make clients feel powerless or defective. A skilled astrologer reframes repetition as unfinished learning or incomplete integration, helping the client regain agency rather than resignation. This question teaches astrologers to remove self-blame from repetition, identify meaning rather than inevitability, guide conscious engagement with recurring themes. Step 1. Identify what is actually repeating. Begin by clarifying what the pattern truly is. Look for similar emotional dynamics rather than identical events. Repeated roles the client finds themselves in. Familiar responses that recreate outcomes. This step helps clients see structure instead of chaos. Step 2. Separate the pattern from the trigger. Clients often focus on external circumstances. Help them see the pattern lies in response, not situation. Different triggers can activate the same theme. Awareness breaks unconscious repetition. This reframing restores choice. Step 3. Identify what the pattern is teaching. Recurring experiences often point to development. Explore skills that need strengthening, boundaries that need reinforcement, perspectives that need updating. This shifts repetition from punishment to purpose. Step 4. Normalize cycles without normalizing stagnation. Clients may fear they're doomed to repeat forever. Reframe by explaining, cycles repeat until integrated. Awareness reduces intensity over time. Repetition does not mean failure. This reduces discouragement while maintaining responsibility. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Client guidance should emphasize conscious engagement. Focus on responding differently rather than avoiding triggers. Noticing early signals of repetition. choosing new behaviors incrementally. This supports real change without pressure. Client translation. This isn't happening because you're stuck. It's happening because something is still being refined. When your response changes, the pattern changes. Common client question 15. Why am I experiencing ongoing tension or conflict with this person? Clients rarely ask this neutrally. They often say, "Why is this so hard with them? Why do we keep clashing? What am I doing wrong here?" This question is not about diagnosing the other person. It is about understanding interaction dynamics, timing, and the client's role in the situation so they can respond consciously rather than reactively. For astrologers, this question trains how to address interpersonal tension without taking sides. Why this question matters. Conflict questions easily drift into blame or justification. A professional astrologer reframes tension as information about boundaries, expectations, or misalignment, rather than personal failure. This question teaches astrologers to keep the focus on interaction, not fault, reduce emotional escalation, support clarity and agency. Step 1. Identify the nature of the tension. Begin by clarifying what kind of conflict is present. Look for communication breakdowns, mismatched expectations, power or boundary issues. This step helps distinguish situational friction from deeper incompatibility. Step 2. Separate timing from character. Clients often believe conflict defines the relationship. Help them see tension can be temporary. Stress amplifies differences. Timing affects tolerance and perception. This reframing reduces personalization. Step 3. Identify the client's point of influence. Astrology cannot change others, but it can clarify response. Explore where the client has choice. What reactions escalate tension? Where clarity or restraint helps. This restores agency. Step 4. Normalize discomfort without endorsing it. Clients may tolerate too much or react too strongly. Reframe by explaining. Tension signals adjustment is needed. Discomfort does not equal failure. Not all conflict must be resolved immediately. This balances patience with self-respect. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Client guidance should emphasize measured engagement. Focus on responding instead of reacting, clarifying expectations calmly, choosing where to invest energy. This supports stability without avoidance. Client translation. This tension isn't about who's right or wrong. It's about how the interaction is unfolding right now. When you adjust your response, the dynamic changes. Common client question 16. Who or what can I trust right now? Clients rarely ask this abstractly. They usually say, "I don't know who to rely on anymore. I'm unsure who has my best interests at heart. How do I know what's solid right now?" This question is not about suspicion or withdrawal. It is about learning discernment during periods of instability, when clarity around people, commitments, or information feels blurred. For astrologers, this question trains how to address trust without cynicism or naivety. Why this question matters. After disruption, conflict, or disappointment, clients often lose confidence in their judgment of others. A professional astrologer reframes trust as something that is situational and earned, not absolute or blind. This question teaches astrologers to restore grounded discernment, avoid encouraging isolation or dependency, help clients identify reliable signals. Step 1. Identify what has undermined trust. Begin by clarifying why trust feels uncertain. Look for recent disappointments or unmet expectations, conflicting information or advice, inconsistency between words and actions. This step prevents generalized mistrust from forming. Step 2. Separate trust from certainty. Clients often believe trust requires guarantees. Help them see trust can be provisional. Reliability is shown over time. Discernment does not require total confidence. This reframing reduces pressure to know for sure. Step 3. Identify observable signals of reliability. Trust is built through behavior, not intention. Explore. Consistency in actions. Follow through on commitments. Alignment between values and behavior. This grounds trust in observation rather than hope. Step 4. Normalize cautious engagement. Clients may fear that caution equals withdrawal. Reframe by explaining. Measured trust protects clarity. Gradual engagement builds confidence. Boundaries support discernment. This supports balance between openness and protection. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Client guidance should emphasize situational trust. Focus on trusting what is consistent, staying observant rather than suspicious, allowing trust to build incrementally. This restores confidence without rigidity. Client translation. You don't need to trust everything or everyone right now. When you trust what is consistent and observable, clarity returns naturally. Common client question 17. Am I being true to myself in how I'm living right now? Clients often ask this quietly, sometimes with guilt or unease. They may say, something doesn't feel aligned. I feel like I'm compromising myself. I don't feel fully authentic anymore. This question is not about perfection or self-criticism. It is about understanding alignment between inner values and outer behavior, especially during periods of change or pressure. For astrologers, this question trains how to address integrity without moralizing. Why this question matters. When clients feel misaligned, they may experience dissatisfaction without knowing why. A professional astrologer helps them reconnect with core values, not impose standards or judgments. This question teaches astrologers to identify misalignment without blame, support authentic adjustment, restore self-respect and clarity. Step 1. Identify the source of the discomfort. Begin by clarifying what feels off. Look for behaviors that feel performative rather than genuine, commitments made out of obligation, choices driven by fear rather than truth. This step surfaces misalignment without accusation. Step 2. Separate adaptation from self-betrayal. Clients often confuse flexibility with compromise. Help them see adaptation can be healthy. Compromise becomes misalignment when values are violated. Integrity is about coherence, not rigidity. This reframing reduces unnecessary guilt. Step 3. Identify what the self is asking for. Misalignment often signals an unmet need. Explore values that need expression, boundaries that need reinforcement, choices that need reevaluation. This restores inner coherence. Step 4. Normalize gradual realignment. Clients may fear that alignment requires dramatic change. Reframe by explaining. Small adjustments restore integrity. Realignment is often incremental. Authenticity deepens through conscious choice. This supports realistic integration. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Client guidance should emphasize honest engagement. Focus on making choices that feel internally consistent, releasing unnecessary performance, allowing life to reflect inner truth. This supports dignity and clarity. Client translation. This isn't about doing everything perfectly, it's about living in a way that feels coherent to you. When your actions match your values, alignment returns. Common client question 18. What is the deeper meaning of what I'm experiencing right now? Clients often ask this during intense or confusing periods. They may say, why is this happening to me? What is this trying to teach me? What's the point of going through this? This question is not about assigning cosmic justification or minimizing difficulty. It is about helping clients contextualize experience, so challenges and transitions feel intelligible rather than random. For astrologers, this question trains how to address meaning without spiritual bypassing. Why this question matters. When experiences feel meaningless, clients lose resilience. A professional astrologer does not explain suffering away, but helps the client see how experience fits into a larger developmental arc. This question teaches astrologers to provide context without justification, help clients extract meaning without forcing optimism, Integrate experience into personal narrative. Step 1. Identify the nature of the experience. Begin by clarifying what kind of experience this is. Look for challenge, transition, initiation, or consolidation, internal growth versus external change, disruption versus refinement. This step grounds meaning in reality, not abstraction. Step 2. Separate meaning from outcome. Clients often believe meaning equals reward. Help them see meaning is about development, not payoff. Insight can precede resolution. Understanding does not require closure. This reframing prevents disappointment or spiritual bypass. Step 3. Identify the developmental theme. Every experience tends to work on something specific. Explore qualities being strengthened, perspectives being challenged, identities being reshaped. This helps clients recognize growth without romanticizing struggle. Step 4. Normalize not fully understanding yet. Clients may pressure themselves to get it. Reframe by explaining. Meaning often becomes clear in retrospect. Partial understanding is enough for now. Integration unfolds over time. This reduces pressure to interpret prematurely. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Client guidance should emphasize context and patience. Focus on staying present with the experience, observing how it's shaping perspective, allowing meaning to emerge naturally. This supports resilience without false reassurance. Client translation. This experience isn't random, even if it doesn't make sense yet. When you stay present with it, meaning reveals itself over time. Common client question 19. What is my responsibility in what's happening right now? Clients rarely ask this directly. They often say, "What am I supposed to do about this? What part of this is actually in my control? What's on me and what isn't?" This question is not about blame or fault. It is about helping clients identify where they have agency so they can act consciously without carrying unnecessary burden. For astrologers, this question trains how to clarify responsibility without guilt. Why this question matters. When situations feel complex or overwhelming, clients may either over-identify with responsibility or avoid it entirely. A professional astrologer helps them locate appropriate responsibility, restoring balance between action and acceptance. This question teaches astrologers to reduce self-blame and helplessness, clarify agency without pressure, help clients act where action matters. Step 1. Identify what is within the client's control. Begin by clarifying what the client can actually influence. Look for choices in response rather than outcomes, boundaries, decisions, and timing, internal attitudes and engagement. This step separates responsibility from circumstance. Step 2. Separate responsibility from outcome. Clients often equate responsibility with results. Help them see responsibility lies in effort and integrity. Outcomes are shaped by multiple factors. Doing one's part does not guarantee control. This reframing reduces unnecessary self-criticism. Step 3. Identify where responsibility is being avoided or overcarried. Misplaced responsibility often creates tension. Explore where the client feels burdened beyond capacity, where avoidance masquerades as helplessness, where clarity would reduce anxiety. This restores proportion. Step 4. Normalize shared and situational responsibility. Not everything rests on the client. Reframe by explaining. Many situations involve shared dynamics. Responsibility can shift over time. Clarity improves when responsibility is right-sized. This reduces pressure without removing agency. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Client guidance should emphasize conscious ownership. Focus on doing what is genuinely theirs to do, releasing what is not theirs to carry, acting with integrity rather than urgency. This supports grounded engagement. Client translation. Your responsibility isn't to control everything, it's to respond with clarity and integrity where you actually have influence. Common client question 20. How do I move forward from here in a way that feels right? Clients often ask this at the end of a session, even if not in words. They may say, "So, what should I do next? How do I take all of this and move forward? What's the right way to proceed now?" This question is not about instruction or prescription. It is about helping the client integrate insight into action in a way that feels aligned, realistic, and self-directed. For astrologers, this question trains how to close a session responsibly and professionally. Why this question matters. Many readings end with insight but no orientation. Without closure, clients may feel inspired yet unsure how to apply what they've learned. A skilled astrologer helps the client leave with direction, not dependence. This question teaches astrologers to synthesize insight without overwhelming, return authority to the client, close sessions with grounded confidence. Step 1. Reflect the core insight back to the client. Begin by summarizing the central themes that emerged. Focus on what was clarified, what shifted in understanding, what became more coherent. This helps the client feel seen and oriented. Step 2. Identify the natural next step. Avoid giving a list of actions. Instead, clarify what feels most alive or relevant now, where engagement feels appropriate, what doesn't need immediate action. This reinforces intuitive alignment. Step 3. Emphasize pace and proportion. Clients often feel pressure to act correctly. Reframe by explaining, progress doesn't require urgency. Movement can be gradual. Responsiveness matters more than speed. This reduces post-session anxiety. Step 4. Reinforce client autonomy. Make it clear that insight supports choice, it doesn't replace it. The client remains the authority on their life. Adjustment is always possible. This prevents dependency and reinforces trust. Step 5. Translate into client-ready guidance. Client guidance should be simple, affirming, and open-ended. Focus on moving forward with awareness, staying engaged with what feels aligned, trusting their capacity to respond. This allows the session to land cleanly. Client translation. You don't need to have everything figured out. Take what feels clear, move forward at a pace that feels steady, and trust yourself to adjust as you go.